Chapter 33:27. Humph. Crystal Candy humphed, a little pissed off. She knew what kind of person the Grand Elder of Dark Palace was. With Lin Yi's strength, it'd be weird if the Grand Elder didn't try to get on his good side. It's fine. Isn't Senior Sister your little wife? Plus, I don't like dealing with palace stuff. Xiao Xiao didn't mind. But Yao Yao sis is an heir too? That's amazing. But didn't Lin Yi Honey say she's his girlfriend? Don't tell me you and Yao Yao already. Haha, yes, Yao Yao's my girlfriend now. What's even more amazing is that she's the fire heir of Flaming Mountain. She hasn't left yet, but she's not far from it, Lin Yi said. Ah, Shu too? Xiao Xiao was completely shocked. She didn't expect Lin Yi to have so many inheritors around him. All of them were connected to Lin Yi. Crystal Candy, on the other hand, was extremely shocked as well. She knew about Ming Yao, but she didn't know about Yushu. She couldn't imagine that Xiao Xiao, Tang Yun, Ming Yao, and Yushu were all women who had a close relationship with Lin Yi. And now that they were all inheritors, Lin Yi would be in charge of Sky Class Island. Who asked them to be Lin Yi's people? Yeah, so don't worry and accept the inheritance. Your training speed should be faster, Lin Yi said. Xiao Xiao was the first to accept the inheritance, but her training speed wasn't that fast. She'd been in the Ice Palace for half a year, and she was only Sky Class early phase, and that was with all the resources in the Ice Palace. How long had Ming Yao been in the Dark Palace? Evidently, accepting the inheritance was different from not accepting it. Okay, I understand. Xiao Xiao nodded and let out a sigh of relief. This was something she had been struggling with for a long time. She knew that there was no such thing as love without a reason. In the Ice Palace, he not only saved her life, he even promised to save her mother, and even gave her all the resources. What was all this for? Wasn't it all to make her an inheritor? But without Lin Yi's approval, Xiao Xiao didn't dare say yes. Now that Lin Yi had confirmed this, she'd be a lot more loyal in the Ice Palace. This is the first thing I came here for, Lin Yi said as he pointed at the person on his back. Only then did Xiao Xiao remember that Lin Yi was carrying someone on his back. Xiao Xiao didn't know who it was, but Lin Yi was carrying him here, so something must have happened. You carried Xiao Xiao on your back last time, don't tell me you need our help this time too? Crystal Candy frowned as she looked at Xinyan on Lin Yi's back. I want to see Aunt Qing alone. Crystal Candy, make the arrangements. Lin Yi didn't explain much because Dongfang had told him to keep a low profile, and only say that Dongfang's identity was with Aunt Qing. Don't let too many people know. All right. Crystal Candy was a little helpless at Lin Yi's tone. It was like she was his little girl asking her to make the arrangements. Don't you know that I'm the sect master of the Ice Palace? You want to see Aunt Qing, and you're not begging me but asking me to make the arrangements? Of course it was like that to other people, but to Lin Yi now, Crystal Candy didn't have any temper at all. It was like what Lin Yi said all those years ago. A hero shouldn't be afraid of a weak background. You could look down on Lin Yi back then, but you couldn't look down on the current Lin Yi. The winner was the king, and the loser was the thief. If Lin Yi didn't have the strength, he would have been kicked out already. Xiao Xiao paused. She didn't know why Lin Yi wanted to see Aunt Qing alone. Could it be that only Aunt Qing could save the person on Lin Yi's back? She didn't understand, but she knew that Lin Yi wouldn't hide things from her. Maybe it was to avoid Crystal Candy, so she didn't ask. After receiving the message from her disciple, Aunt Qing quickly rushed over. When she heard from her disciple that Lin Yi had crippled an emissary of the Five Elements sect who was at the peak of the late phase of Heaven stage and fled, she was a little surprised. It seemed that the previous rumors were true. Lin Yi really had such strength. But Aunt Qing was different from Crystal Candy. She was happy. She thought highly of Lin Yi and felt that Lin Yi was a person with backbone. Now Lin Yi succeeded, which meant that her judgment was right. Lin Yi, you're looking for me? After Aunt Qing arrived, she saw Lin Yi. Lin Yi was still the Lin Yi from before. From the appearance, there was no difference. Who would have thought that in half a year there would be such a huge change? Yes, Aunt Qing. Let's find a place to talk alone. Lin Yi nodded. With Lin Yi's words, Crystal Candy couldn't say anything. After Lin Yi and Aunt Qing entered a separate living room, Crystal Candy and Xiao Xiao were together. Naturally, it wouldn't be good for them to eavesdrop. The two went to study the inheritance. Since Xiao Xiao had already agreed, this matter had to be done as soon as possible. Lily, I really didn't expect that in just half a year. You would have such strength now. I'm really happy for you. Aunt Qing said sincerely, and then her face turned serious. She said seriously, "Why did you come to see me this time?" Aunt Qing, forgive me for being direct. Do you have a sister? Did she leave with Crystal Candy's master? Linny asked slowly. Oh, how did you know? Aunt Qing was very surprised when she heard Lin Yi's question. This matter was only known by a few people in the Ice Palace. No one else knew, so she was very curious. How did Lin Yi hear about it? Even Xiao Xiao didn't know, so it was even more impossible for Lin Yi to know. I have a senior. He told me, and he was the one who told me to come find you. Lin Yi said. Senior? Aunt Qing was a little puzzled. Lin Yi had a senior? Lin Yi's senior knew him? Wasn't Lin Yi a normal solo practitioner? Why was his senior also from the practitioner world? Yes, it's my grandpa. Lin Yi nodded. Your grandpa? Who is he? Aunt Qing was even more curious. His name is Lin Dongfang. Do you know him, Aunt Qing? Although Lin Yi was a little puzzled as to what kind of relationship Lin Dongfang had with Aunt Qing, since old Lin told him to come find him, then there must be a reason. So Lin Yi still said it. Chapter 33:28. I say his name is Lin Dongfang. Do you know him, Aunt Qing? Lin Yi did not expect Aunt Qing to have such a huge reaction. This made him very puzzled. His name is Lin Dongfang? Lin Dongfang is your grandfather? At this moment, Aunt Qing lost her composure. Her eyes were filled with disbelief and shock. But more than that, there was excitement. There was news, there was finally news of him. However, Aunt Qing also had a faint sense of loss. He was married. Of course, his grandson was already so big. Lin Dongfang. It turned out that Lin Yi was not an ordinary wandering cultivator, but a wandering cultivator with a very strong background. Although in the ancient times it was not uncommon to have a few wives and concubines, Aunt Qing was still not very happy. After all, Lin Dongfang said that with his situation, he could not consider personal issues, not that he did not like Aunt Qing. But now, not only was Lin Dongfang married, but even his grandson was so big. How could Aunt Qing be happy? Wasn't this a lie? So at this moment Aunt Qing was a little sad. So he is already married. So little Yi, you are his grandson. No wonder you are a hero. Married? Lin Yi was stunned. Looking at Aunt Qing's resentful gaze, he seemed to think of something and could not help but smile bitterly. Could this be the old man's lover when he was young? However, it wasn't appropriate for a young person like Lin Yi to get involved in these things. He could only tell the truth. Aunt Qing, my grandpa isn't married. I'm an orphan that he adopted. He can be counted as my master, as well as my family. Ah, so that's how it is. Little Qing's originally disappointed eyes suddenly became bright at this moment. The gaze that looked at Lin Yi also became a lot more kind. Lin Yi was Lin Dongfang's godson. Wasn't that the same as her own? It seemed that helping Lin Yi in the past was really the right thing to do. Aunt Qing's voice trembled as she asked, Your grandfather, is he okay? Where is he? I don't know. He used a special method to contact me and told me to find you, but I don't know exactly what he is doing and what he is busy with. Although Lin Yi could see that the relationship between Aunt Qing and Lin Dongfang was definitely not ordinary, in order not to expose Lin Dongfang's whereabouts, he could only lie against his will. Ah, so that's how it is. Aunt Qing sighed. In fact, she had already guessed it. How could Lin Dongfang not have left with them? Grandpa said that it's fine for you to know about this. He doesn't want too many people to know. Lin Yi said. Oh, okay. Aunt Qing was a little surprised. From the looks of it, Lin Yi didn't seem to know Lin Dongfang's power. He also didn't know what Lin Dongfang's grandson represented in the ancient era. If he had told Bingtang about his background, would Bingtang have dared to say those words? Obviously not. And Lin Yi claimed to be a wandering cultivator. A hero doesn't ask about his background. He probably didn't know Lin Dongfang's true strength. Then it also proved that Lin Dongfang left when Lin Yi was very young. Lin Yi was still ignorant at that time. Aunt Qing, I came to find you this time because of the person on me. As Lin Yi spoke, he put Wang Xinyan on the sofa in the living room and said, I heard that your sister's physique is very similar to hers. Lin Yi didn't say the rest of the sentence because he didn't need to say it. He believed that Aunt Qing could understand what Linny meant. Sure enough, Aunt Qing's expression became serious. She looked at Wang Xinyan on the sofa and said, "You said that she also has a sponge physique?" Linny nodded slowly and told Aunt Qing about Wang Xinyan's situation from beginning to end in detail. He also emphasized the matter of the orchid jade grass. In that case, if there are no accidents, it should be this kind of physique. After listening, Aunt Qing nodded slowly. "You came to find me to find a solution, right?" "That's right." With this layer of relationship with Lin Dongfang, Linny became closer to Aunt Qing. He spoke more naturally. "I heard that Aunt Qing's sister also had this kind of physique. Then on the road of cultivation, she had extraordinary achievements. Little E, since you are Dongfang's godson, you are the same as my junior. I will spare no effort in this matter to help you," Aunt Qing said. "But although I know my sister's situation very well, you have to know that her success can't be replicated." "What do you mean?" Linny was stunned. "Back then, with the help of the Ice Palace's old palace master, my sister found a cultivation ground blessed by the heavens. Coupled with the mantra, she was able to quickly increase her strength and become a peak late-stage heaven realm expert." Auntie Qing said. "However, that unique training ground contained limited heaven and earth spiritual energy. My sister used up more than half of it. Later, Palace Mistress Bingtang also cultivated there. Together with the cultivation of some disciples, that place was almost the same as an ordinary place. There was nothing special about it. In other words, without a training ground, just the mantra is useless, right?" Linny frowned. "Yes," Aunt Qing said with certainty. "So that's how it is." Linny sighed slightly. This was very similar to what Lin Dongfang expected. In a place with abundant heaven and earth energy, Wang Xinyan could recover. Even if she didn't train, she could still live. But the problem now was, where could they find such a place? Linny pondered for a moment and couldn't help but ask, "Is there no substitute? Must it be a place with abundant heaven and earth energy? There seems to be another way. Let me think." With that, Aunt Qing closed her eyes and fell into deep thought. Linny didn't dare to disturb her. He quietly waited for Aunt Qing's answer. This was Lin Yi's only hope. Linny didn't think that Wang Xinyan's physique would be so complicated. But no matter what, Wang Xinyan's problem was because of him. If he didn't absorb the fragrance in her body, Wang Xinyan would still be safe. At most, she couldn't expose her physique and she couldn't become a practitioner. But even if she exposed her physique now, so what? If Wang Xinyan wanted to become a practitioner, she needed a place with abundant heaven and earth energy. It wasn't a place where she could train just because she wanted to. Chapter 33-29. Energy stones? Are they white? Linny paused and quickly asked. "Not bad, it seems like you know about them. I thought you wouldn't know about such an ancient thing. I guess it was your grandfather who told you?" Aunt Qing thought it was Linny who told her, but Linny didn't explain much. "How many white energy stones do you need?" Linny listened to Aunt Qing and calmed down a little. He was ready to go to Hakunamata Desert to find the Bubble Li clan. If everything went smoothly, he could trade for some white energy stones, but Linny didn't know the exact amount. In any case, Linny would supply Wang Xinyan first. As for Han Jingjing's cauldron, so what if he didn't earn money from it? It's hard to say. If it was a normal practitioner with such a large energy stone, it wouldn't be a problem to cultivate to the mystic or earth class. As Aunt Qing spoke, she gestured with her hand. It was roughly the size of Uncle Fu's stone. She then continued, "But this kind of spongy physique is a lot more. If you want to cultivate to the yellow class, you'll need at least 30 to 50. "What?" Linny was shocked. 30 to 50? What kind of joke was this? And it was only golden class. If he needed so many energy stones when he just stepped on the path of training, then how much would he need to train on the internet? Linny guessed that he should be able to trade for energy stones from the Bubble Li clan, but with so many, Linny wasn't sure. So Linny asked for the next best thing. "What if it's just to maintain a lifetime of peace and not training? Then you'll need about 10. Aunt Qing said. "Of course, this is just an estimate. There might be some discrepancies." "Phew, 10 is not bad." Linny nodded. This time, no matter what price he had to pay, Linny would bring back 10 energy stones from the Bubble Li clan, and the clan should have 10 extra. You have this kind of energy stone? Aunt Qing was surprised. This thing had been gone for hundreds of years. Where would Linny get it? No, but I plan to go to Hakanamata Desert to find the Bubbly clan and trade with them, Linny said. So that's how it is. Aunt Qing obviously knew about the Bubbly clan. If that's the case, I can only wish you success. Aunt Qing can't help you too much. I can only provide you with this information. However, if you want to cultivate, you can also try to find a way to see if elder sister left behind any cultivation methods in mnemonics. You haven't found it yet? Linny thought that Aunt Qing had the cultivation method, but it seemed like she didn't. There should be, but I can't be sure. That's because none of us can cultivate this mantra. It's useless even if we get it. So after my sister left, I didn't deliberately look for it, Aunt Qing explained. Linny nodded. Then I won't bother you anymore. I have to go back and prepare to go to Hakanamata Desert. All right, Linny nodded. I won't disturb you then. I have to go back and prepare to go to Hakanamata Desert. All right. Aunt Qing nodded and hesitated for a moment before saying, If there is news of your grandfather, tell Aunt Qing about it. Okay. Linny smiled bitterly in his heart. Old Lin didn't want him to say anything, so he really didn't dare. Linny found Aunt Qing and got a relatively good answer, but whether or not Linny could find the Bubbly clan, and if he did, whether or not the deal would go through was still unknown. Linny had things on his mind, and naturally, he wouldn't stay long in the Ice Palace. After saying goodbye to Xiao Xiao, he said goodbye to Aunt Qing and Rock Candy and left the Ice Palace. It hadn't even been a day in the Ice Palace, and Xiao Xiao didn't want to leave, but she knew Linny's character. Didn't Linny go around seeking medical help for her? So she didn't want to waste Linny's precious time. Riding on the purple thunderbolt beast, Linny returned to Donghai. Linny came and went in a hurry, and Yushu was very surprised that Linny got home so quickly. Shield bro, did you see Xiao Xiao? Can Xinyan sis be saved? Yushu asked, but her heart sank when she saw the unconscious Xinyan. There was no way Linny would have carried Xinyan back if there was a way to save her. Yes, but it's a bit troublesome. I'm preparing to go to Hakanamata Desert tomorrow. Xinyan will stay at home and won't be coming. Shoo, that place is pretty close to Fiery Mountain. Do you want to go and have a look? Linny paused for a moment. I think I'll pass. I'll drag it out as long as I can. Don't I have to take care of Xinyan sis at home? Hua Mingyun of Flaming Mountain was Linny's follower. But Yushu didn't want to be separated from him. She didn't know when she'd be back, and she was afraid that she'd have to stay at Flaming Mountain. All right. Linny understood Yushu's thoughts, and he didn't force it. After returning to his room, Linny started pondering. Who should he bring with him this time? Hakanamata Desert was filled with unknown dangers, and to be honest, the best person Linny could bring was Udake. He'd been there once before, and while he didn't find the exact location of the white energy stone, he was very familiar with it. It was better than Linny looking for it alone. With that in mind, Linny dialed Udake's number. Mr. Lin. Udake was very surprised when he received Linny's call. Linny was his savior, and also the person who helped his sister. He'd always wanted to find a chance to meet up with Linny again. But as Linny's status rose, Linny was no longer the person who relied on luck to escape from the hidden houses. During the Hidden House Summit, if it wasn't for Linny's luck, he wouldn't have been able to escape from the attacks of the hidden houses. But now Linny didn't care about the hidden houses anymore. He'd be able to trample on the ancient houses, right? He heard that Linny could instantly kill a Sky-class late-phase Peak Master. What kind of power was that? The gap between Udake and Linny was getting bigger and bigger, and Udake was too embarrassed to contact Linny anymore. It's me, Dake. How have you been? Are you doing well at Houseu? Linny asked. Chapter 3330. However, he didn't know what other arrangements Linny had. He was afraid that after leaving, he wouldn't have anything else to do. How about this? I'll talk to you, Coiling Tiger, and then you can come to my villa to find me. I have something to talk to you about. Linny said. Okay, Mr. Lin. Udake was surprised and happy. He was willing to have a relationship with Linny. Who wouldn't want to follow a powerful person? With Udake's qualifications and the strength of the Yu clan, it would be very difficult to go further. Therefore, following Linny was a shortcut. After hanging up the phone, Linny directly called you Coiling Tiger. Ah, isn't this Boss Linny? What's the matter? Although you Coiling Tiger was unhappy with Linny, he absolutely didn't dare to say it out loud. Now, he didn't have any thoughts of revenge against Linny. When the difference in strength between the two was too great, and even you Coiling Tiger's backer couldn't do anything to Linny, what thoughts did you Coiling Tiger have? Obviously not. He didn't want to die, he didn't want to implicate the Hidden You clan. I want someone from you, Linny said. Ah. You Coiling Tiger was shocked and said with a bitter face. Boss Linny, what person do you want? Don't accuse me wrongly. How would I dare to kidnap someone from you? You Coiling Tiger obviously misunderstood. He thought that Linny said that he kidnapped Linny's friend. In the past, he didn't know fear and dared to kidnap Guan Exine with Kong Ming Ming. But now, how would he dare? Even if he ate 100 Qi gathering pills and became a peak late-stage heaven-class master, he still wouldn't dare to act rashly in front of Lin Yi. Even a peak late-stage heaven-class master would die in Lin Yi's hands. Don't say these useless things. There's a person called Udake, right? Lin Yi asked. Ah, Udake? There seems to be. Right, Coiling Tiger was stunned. He thought for a moment and said, Boss Lin Yi, are you talking about this person? Did he offend you? This person is just a guest disciple of our Yu family. He's not a member of our Yu family. I'm going to punish him now. I'm not asking you to punish him. I'm looking for him for something else. Lin Yi interrupted Pan Hu Yu's words and said, He's been working for your family for many years, right? Give him something good and let him come to me. Sure, no problem. Right, Pan Hu quickly agreed after listening. It was not easy for a guest to leave the family, let alone be given travel expenses. This was a treatment that could only be obtained after making great contributions. However, when Lin Yi spoke, Yu Pan Hu agreed without thinking because in his opinion, this was a small matter. If the Yu family really provoked Lin Yi, it would be a big deal. Lin Yi didn't talk much nonsense with Pan Hu Yu. He hung up the phone and waited for Udake to come to the door. Udake's speed was not slow. Of course, this was also thanks to the hidden Yu family's villa not far from Lin Yi's villa. Udake? How come it's you? Yushu was watching TV in the living room. Someone knocked on the door. She walked over and opened the door. When she saw Udake, she was a little strange. Shoo, hello. Mr. Lin Yi asked me to come. Is he here? Udake asked politely. Oh, Shield Bro is in the bedroom. I'll call him for you. However, before Yushu could speak, Lin Yi pushed the door open and walked out. Udake, you're here. Sit down and talk. Lin Yi made a gesture to Udake. Okay, Mr. Lin, I don't know why you asked me to come. Udake was actually a little puzzled. Why did Lin Yi suddenly ask him to come here? It's like this. I'm going to the Hakunamata Desert. To put it bluntly, it's to find the kind of energy stone you gave me. Lin Yi didn't beat around the bush and directly stated his purpose. I haven't been there, but you've been there once. So, if we go together, it will be much easier with you as a guide. Of course, no problem. Udake agreed almost without thinking. He had always been grateful to Lin Yi in his heart. He was worried that he didn't have a chance to repay Lin Yi. Now that Lin Yi had something to ask of him, how could he refuse? It's good that there's no problem. Lin Yi nodded and said, Then you pack up, we'll leave tomorrow. That's fine, but can I bring another person with me? Udake hesitated. He knew that it wasn't good to ask Lin Yi. After all, he was looking for him to lead the way for treasure hunting. What was wrong with bringing another person? Did he want a share of the loot? But Udake really didn't think so. He had his own thoughts and goals, so he still asked tentatively. Oh, who are you bringing? Lin Yi frowned slightly. Although he didn't directly refuse, his tone was a little unhappy. He didn't want too many people to know that he was going to the Hakunamata Desert, but Udake had Yushaoka's relationship, so Lin Yi had to give him face. Udake wasn't a blind person. He saw Lin Yi's unhappy face and suddenly felt a little awkward. He rubbed his hands and said carefully, Actually, I want to bring my sister Xiaoka with me. If it's too difficult, then forget it. Xiaoka? Lin Yi paused and smiled. Why didn't you say so earlier? Of course she can go, but what's the use of bringing her? It's like this. Don't I have a secret art passed down in my family? My home used to be in the Hakuna Mata Desert. The absolute study is hidden in the Hakuna Mata Desert. I want Xiaoku to go there because of the absolute study. Udake did not hide and directly stated his purpose. Oh, Xiaoku's strength is weaker. Can she go with us? How about we take the secret art back and give it to her? To be honest, Linny was a little worried. He was afraid that Xiaoku's strength was weak and she would encounter some danger. That's not impossible, but according to some information passed down by my family, if I were to practice the first level of the unique skill in my family, it would be easier to get started. I won't need it in the future. Udake said. Chapter 33-31. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lin. Udake said happily. Actually, even if Linny didn't go to Hakunamata Desert, he still wanted to find a chance to go there. However, he didn't plan on looking for energy stones. He just wanted to get Xiaoku's practitioner's arts chant. The reason why he didn't bring Xiaoku was because he wasn't that strong. But Linny was different. Linny could kill a sky-class late-phase peak in one hit. He had enough power to protect Xiaoku, so even if there was danger, Linny would be there. Udake said goodbye to Linny and left the villa, getting into a Wrangler off-road vehicle. It was a gift from Raipanhu, so at least he had a means of transportation. Recently, Xiaoku had finally caught her breath. The construction of the orphanage had reached a certain scale, and it was now the largest charity home in the province. Not only did they provide for abandoned babies, but they also provided free medical aid for families who were in trouble. One had to know that some parents abandoned sick babies not because they were heartless, but because they really didn't have the money to treat them. Instead of letting their children die in their own home, they might as well try their luck and see if a kind-hearted person would pick them up, raise them, and treat them. If they could cure the child, they wouldn't abandon the child. And so Xiaoku's orphanage provided free aid to this group of families. The construction of the medical building in the orphanage had already been completed. Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company was in this industry, building a hospital, and with Guan Xuemin's position in the medical school, many students would join this hospital. Moreover, with Guan Xuemin's son Guan Xiaoxiang's rich experience in running a hospital, it would be easy for him to send a director who knew how to manage. So, even though the orphanage's hospital was newly built, its technical level wasn't bad at all. There were many people coming and going. What surprised Xiaoku the most was that there was a huge amount of money in the orphanage's account. This money was transferred from abroad, and although this was a public donation account, there was a limit to how much they could donate. Each donation was in the tens of millions, but now it was in the hundreds of millions, and it was in euros. Xiaoku didn't know what to do with this. Who would donate such a huge amount of money? Xiaoku might believe it if it was a donation from within the country, but she didn't believe it if it was from overseas. How could foreigners know about her orphanage? Even if they knew, they wouldn't donate this much, right? And so, Xiaoku instinctively thought that this money had something to do with Lin Yi, but she didn't rule out the possibility that it was the male thief who sent it. She didn't know why, but she felt that it was more likely to be Lin Yi. Sometimes, Xiaoku had to admit that the male thief didn't give her as much money as Lin Yi did. So, the more she thought about calling Lin Yi, the more she wanted to ask him if he was the one who got the money. But Xiaoku was afraid that Lin Yi would become arrogant and ask for more from her. That would put Xiaoku in an even more difficult position. But Xiaoku wasn't someone who didn't know how to repay favors. She hesitated and called Lin Yi. But Lin Yi's phone was turned off. Helpless, Lin Yi could only ask Fatty Lai. Fatty Lai couldn't find Lin Yi, so he called Yushu and learned that Lin Yi went overseas to Europe. Fatty Lai told Xiaoku about it. This time Xiaoku didn't doubt it anymore. Lin Yi must have gotten the money. But the more she thought about it, the more she felt that she owed Lin Yi. Logically speaking, this money was for the orphanage, and Xiaoku didn't spend a single cent herself. She had every reason to treat Lin Yi as a good person, and there was no need for her to feel conflicted. There were so many foundations in the world, and if the person in charge of each foundation were to feel conflicted about the donors, it would be a mess, wouldn't it? But Xiaoku saw herself as a member of the orphanage. Even if the money wasn't spent on her, she still felt that it was for her. This was the main reason why Xiaoku was worried. Now the orphanage was finally on the right track, and Xiaoku wasn't as busy as before. To put it bluntly, she was of little use now. The orphanage was on the right track, and she didn't need to think of ways to get funds anymore. But the more idle she was, the more she was afraid that Lin Yi would find her. And so Xiaoka lived her days in a dilemma. Today an uninvited guest came to her office. Xiaoka looked carefully and realized that it was her brother. "Brother, why are you here?" Xiaoka was pleasantly surprised. Her brother hadn't come back since he left last time. Xiaoka missed him, but she didn't know how to contact him. She wanted to ask Lin Yi, but she was afraid of walking into a tiger's mouth. "Xiaoka, how have you been recently? I didn't expect this orphanage to be this big. The last time you date came, the orphanage wasn't this big." "Not bad. Brother, how about you?" Xiaoka asked. "I've left the hidden house. I'm free now and I can spend more time with you in the future." "But Xiaoka, are you free? I'm going back to our old home tomorrow. Are you free? If you are, let's go together." Udake didn't have much time to waste since they had to leave tomorrow morning. He had to talk to Xiaoka about it at night. Home. Xiaoka was adopted by the headmaster when she was young. She didn't remember much at that time, so she didn't have much of a concept of home. Now that Udake brought it up, she naturally wanted to go back and see her home. A real home. "It's okay. I'm not too busy these days. Are we leaving tomorrow? Isn't it a bit rushed? Although many things are on the right track, I still need to make some arrangements." "Yes, tomorrow. This time Mr. Lin is looking for me. We'll go back together. Mr. Lin is in a hurry, so we have to go to Donghai City first thing in the morning and leave with him," Udake said. Chapter 33-32. And so Xiaoka's face darkened. What is he going to do? "Bro, can't we go back ourselves? What's wrong with Lin Yi going back? I don't want him to go with us." Ahem. Dake paused, knowing that Xiaoka had misunderstood. He quickly explained, "Xiaoka, Mr. Lin's main goal isn't to go home with us. He has something to do in the desert nearby. I think that it's closer to our home, so I suggested bringing you along." "Ah, really?" Xiaoka didn't believe him. "He's going to do something. Why would he look for you?" "Xiaoka, you misunderstood. Mr. Lin likes you, but he doesn't have any other intentions." They quickly explained. He didn't want his sister to misunderstand him as her savior. "Actually, it's like this. I have to start from the treasure map I gave him." With that, Dake told Xiaoka about the white energy stone and the treasure map. He didn't tell Xiaoka about these things in detail before. After all, they met in a hurry and didn't have the chance to talk about these things. Then, Dake told her about the family heirloom art and his request to bring Xiaoka along. He told her about the benefits of training at home. After that, Xiaoka realized that she had misunderstood Lin Yi. It seemed like she had a huge prejudice against him. But if he didn't like her and wanted to pursue her, would she misunderstand? "I see." Xiaoka was a little embarrassed, but the person in front of her was her brother. It wasn't Lin Yi, so she didn't mind. "Then, let's go. But if Lin Yi wants to get close to me, you have to help me block him." "I'll try my best." Udake was actually quite optimistic about Lin Yi and his sister being together, but his sister already had someone she liked. This was a difficult thing to handle, and Udake wasn't sure what to do. Since Xiaoka had decided to go, she got busy and arranged things for the orphanage. She let Xiaoqin temporarily take over her position as vice principal, in charge of the operations of the orphanage. The next morning, Xiaoka sat in Dake's car and went to Donghai City, in front of Lin Yi's villa. Xiaoka frowned as she looked at Lin Yi's villa. Such a big villa, how much did it cost? It'd be better if it was given to the orphanage. Xiaoka's voice was soft, but Udake was a practitioner. There was no one else in the car, so of course he heard it clearly. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. Udake knew how much money Xiaoka's orphanage had after chatting with Xiaoka last night. It was a lot of money, and it was impossible to spend it all. Xiaoka was still thinking about other people's villas. Udake was speechless. However, Xiaoka was just saying it. She was that kind of person, spending every cent she had in half. She did her best for the orphanage. "Xiaoka, come with me and wait for Mr. Lin," Dake said to Xiaoka after parking the car. "He's a big figure. Do I have to wait for him?" Xiaoka said, but still got off the car. After all, Lin Yi donated so much money to the orphanage. Even if Xiaoka didn't like him, she had to put on an act, right? Lin Yi heard the car in the yard and came out of the villa. He saw Dake with a smile and Xiaoka with a depressed face. He found it funny that Xiaoka was still treating him like an enemy. Drive my car. Your car is a little small, Linny said and pointed at the Jeep Cherokee in the yard. Okay, I'll drive. Dake had the awareness of being a follower. His life was given to him by Lin Yi, and it was only right for him to be at Lin Yi's beck and call. However, Xiaoke was a little annoyed. Wasn't her brother being too attentive? What if he sold himself out? Dake got on the car, and Lin Yi wanted to sit in the back and talk to Xiaoke about the orphanage. After all, Lin Yi had given the orphanage some money through He Luan, and there was a box of money in his jade space. He wanted to give all of it to Xiaoke, but Xiaoke wasn't happy about it. I'm going to sleep in the back later, you can sit in the front. Xiaoke wasn't being unreasonable, but she was afraid that Lin Yi would touch her in the back. How would she deal with him then? She couldn't fall out with Lin Yi, but she couldn't tolerate it either, right? So Xiaoke still thought that Lin Yi should sit in the front. Dake started the car and drove towards the direction of Hakunamata Desert. Lin Yi could ride the purple lightning beast, but it couldn't fit so many people, so it was more convenient to drive. Dake was helpless against Xiaoke's lack of respect. Xiaoke, Mr. Lin is sitting in the back because he wants to discuss the orphanage with you. He was helping Lin Yi, but how would he know that Lin Yi really thought that way? It was just that Dake wanted to create an opportunity for Lin Yi. Can't we talk like that? Xiaoke said. Haha, it's nothing much. Did you receive the money from before? It's from abroad, Lin Yi asked. Yes, it's you, thank you. Xiaoke thought that it was Lin Yi, but the more it was like this, the more unhappy she was. After all, she owed Lin Yi more and more. I have a box of money here, I'll give it to you too, it's from abroad. With that, Lin Yi took out the money pouch from the jade space. Right, this is in euros as well, but it shouldn't be too hard for you, right? The box of money I gave you at the market was in foreign currencies as well. Lin Yi suddenly stopped talking because Lin Yi realized that he got the wrong identity. At the cultivator's market, Lin Yi was the male thief in front of Xiaoke. Not Lin Yi. What market did you give me a box of foreign currency? Xiaoke froze and looked at Lin Yi confused. However, even though she was confused, she was shocked when Lin Yi took out a big bag of money. Where did the money come from? Lin Yi didn't take the money when he got in the car. Did he leave it in the front passenger seat? The car was parked in the yard, wasn't he afraid of losing it? Chapter 33:33. Plus, how could her brother not see it when he got on the car? It's fine. I meant that I transferred a bunch of foreign currency to your bank account. The orphanage is getting bigger now, and you guys are getting a lot of donations. The foreign currency isn't that eye-catching anymore. Lin Yi said, covering it up. It wasn't that Lin Yi was careless, but Lin Yi didn't have the concept. After all, the person was Lin Yi. It was normal for Lin Yi to get confused after a while. Oh, that's a lot of money. The money from before is more or less enough. The orphanage has passed the period of rapid development, and we're stabilizing. We don't need so much money anymore. Xiaoke didn't know if she should take the money or not. She would feel uneasy if she took the money. You take it first. It's a second-level automatic cauldron. It's still unknown. I'm afraid that Lu Jinghan and Fatty Lai's business will shrink, and we won't have enough money to support you guys, Lin Yi said. Oh, then, I can't take so much money. Xiaoke was tempted by Lin Yi's words. But how was she going to take so much money? Oh, I'll give it to you when we get back. Lin Yi threw the bag of money into the jade space. If Xiaoke didn't see it clearly before, she was shocked now. Where did the money go? Xiaoke's eyes widened, but she couldn't figure out where Lin Yi hid the money. Was this a magic trick? Even magic tricks couldn't be this powerful, right? One had to know that close-range magic required props and support. But Lin Yi was different, her brother was driving, and Xiaoke just stood there and watched as the bag of money disappeared. There was only so much space in the car, and there was no place to hide the money. This didn't fit the laws of space science. Your money? Where did it go? Xiaoke asked curiously. I'm not telling you, Lin Yi said. He wanted to tease Xiaoke. In fact, Dake was also puzzled. How did the money disappear when Lin Yi changed hands? Could it be a ghost? However, Dake didn't ask about these things. Anyway, he knew that Lin Yi was outstanding. On the other hand, Xiaoke paused and asked curiously after hearing Lin Yi's words. Where did he go? That's impossible, Xiaoke said as she looked at the front passenger seat. She didn't see the bag of money from before, which made her even more confused. I only tell my own people. If you want to be my girlfriend, I will tell you. Linny laughed. Humph. Xiaoka's face changed. I don't want to know any more. Linny smiled faintly and didn't say anything else. After all, he couldn't tell others about the jade space. Even if Linny trusted Xiaoka, he couldn't, so he used this reason to stop Xiaoka from asking. The car moved forward slowly. Yudake's driving skills were quite good, and he knew the roads well. The journey was uneventful, and Xiaoka evidently didn't want to talk to Lin Yi. She fell asleep as soon as they got on the road. One reason was that she was really tired. She'd been busy with the orphanage all this time, and now that she could finally relax, she naturally wanted to rest. Second, she really didn't know what to say to Lin Yi. Thank Lin Yi? She was very grateful, but what if Lin Yi asked her to marry him? Yudake was helpless about this, but he knew that he couldn't control his sister's thoughts. He didn't dare to offend Lin Yi, so he could only drive quietly. Dake, is your family from the Hakanamata Desert? Lin Yi asked. That's right, I grew up there. Yudake sighed as he recalled the events of the past. Back then, he was also the young master of a practitioner family. Although his family couldn't be said to be particularly large, it was at least stronger than the current hidden families. It could even be compared to the ancient families. But, because he offended a group of people, his whole family was killed. Fortunately, Yudake had taken his sister out to play and wasn't at home, so he had escaped the disaster. However, when he carried his sleeping sister home, he saw from afar that the group of people had killed his parents, family, uncles, and siblings. Not a single one was spared. At that time, Yudake was very indignant, but he was also deeply helpless. He clenched his fists tightly, but he didn't dare to make the slightest movement. Although he wanted to rush over and stop these people's evil deeds, he also knew that he couldn't stop them with his own strength. He was just a child who had just entered the path of cultivation. How could he compete with these people? So what he could do was to remember the faces of these people, and bury this hatred in his heart. Back then he secretly swore that one day he would definitely take revenge. However, as he grew older, Yudake deeply understood a principle, and that was that his strength was really too low. After so many years, he was still just an Earth-class expert. His achievements were just a guest of the hidden Yu family. He wasn't even as strong as a secular family. How could he take revenge with just this? After so many years, he didn't even know who his enemies were, let alone take revenge. Sometimes people had to face reality. When their ability was seriously insufficient, they could only give up some ideas in their hearts. Yudake used to be like this. He knew that if he continued to mingle in the Yu family, he might not be able to take revenge for the rest of his life. This was also the reason why he wanted to commit suicide when he was seriously injured. But when he met Lin Yi, hope was reignited. If the rumors in the pugilistic world were true during this period of time, that Lin Yi could instantly kill an expert with the strength of the peak late stage of heaven class, then Lin Yi would be a peak existence in the entire cultivation world. Even an expert at the peak of perfection would not dare to boast that he could instantly kill an expert with the strength of the peak late stage of heaven class. However, Yudake also knew that Lin Yi only treated him as an ordinary friend. This was also because of Yu Xiaoka. Otherwise, it would be difficult for him and Lin Yi to cross paths in the future. Therefore, in fact, in the depths of Yudake's heart, he was still inclined to let Yu Xiaoka follow Lin Yi. First, Lin Yi was the savior of their family. Second, Lin Yi had the ability to take revenge for their family. Chapter 33-34. Yudake couldn't force his sister to do it for vengeance. That was an action blinded by hatred. Yudake had calmed down after so many years. Thinking of all these, Yudake sighed lightly. But that's all in the past. Let's not talk about it. There seems to be a story behind it? Lin Yi looked at Yudake. He could hear a faint sadness in Yudake's tone. In fact, Lin Yi vaguely knew about Yudake's past. He was probably a person with a story. At this time, the journey was still long, and Yu Xiaoka didn't speak. So Lin Yi and Yudake could only chat together. I won't hide it from you, Mr. Lin. Actually, my family was annihilated. Yudake wanted to ask for help from Lin Yi, but he didn't know how to ask. Now that Lin Yi took the initiative to ask, he naturally didn't hide it anymore. He told the story to Lin Yi, hoping that Lin Yi would be merciful enough to help him. What? Yu Xiaoka was sleeping, But she suddenly sat up with a pale face. It seemed that Yu Xiaoke wasn't asleep at all. She was just pretending to sleep because she didn't want to talk to Lin Yi. But now she heard that her family was annihilated. She couldn't pretend to sleep anymore. Lin Yi, on the other hand, frowned slightly. He didn't expect Yu Dake to have such a tragic experience. Annihilation? Then you and Xiaoke. At that time I was only 4 years old. I took Xiaoke out to play and escaped a calamity. Xiaoke didn't remember anything at that time. But I remember everything that happened at that time. Yu Dake couldn't help but sigh. He continued, originally this matter has been buried in my heart, so I didn't tell Xiaoke so much. But now, since it has come to this, I won't hide it anymore. Who did it? Lin Yi asked. What's the reason? I'm not too sure about the specifics. It seems that they offended someone. I was too young and I couldn't remember the reason. I could only barely remember the faces of the leaders. Yu Dake shook his head helplessly. But after I grew up, I kept asking for their whereabouts, but there was no news. After all, our family was in the foreign land at that time, and we weren't close to the practitioners in Wuxia. They didn't even hear of the foreign land's Yu house, so they wouldn't know who our enemies were. Lin Yi nodded. There were too many grudges in the ancient world, and these weren't things that Lin Yi could see. Every era had its own strong people, but these strong people had different personalities. Some bullied the weak, and some didn't offend others if they didn't offend them. Just like the current Lin Yi, he wouldn't take the initiative to bully others, but if this person offended him, then Lin Yi would take action. Of course, in many cases, Lin Yi would still give the other party a chance, but the other party didn't know how to grasp it. Yu Dake's family might have been bullied by others, or it could have been that Yu Dake's family had offended someone they couldn't afford to offend, resulting in the current situation. If it was the former, then there was a possibility that Lin Yi would choose to help. After all, he had a relationship with Yu Xiaoke, but if it was the latter, then Lin Yi wouldn't stand up for them. Lin Yi wasn't an unreasonable person, and if House Yu really offended someone else and got annihilated, then it could only be said that they were unlucky. In the world of cultivation, the weak are prey to the strong. That's the logic. Lin Yi said faintly, sometimes you don't have to care too much. For example, the common House Yu and the hidden House Zhao were annihilated because of me, but this matter can't be said to be my fault for bullying them. If they didn't provoke me, I wouldn't have provoked them. Mr. Lin, I understand what you mean, but House Yu's family motto is to help others. Helping others is helping ourselves. I may be young, but my parents taught me that as a person of the martial world, we must have a chivalrous heart. When others are in trouble, we must lend a helping hand. How could a family like this bully others? It's completely different from the common House Yu and the hidden House Zhao. They deserved it, but Yu Dake naturally understood what Lin Yi meant, so he quickly explained. Oh, Lin Yi was slightly surprised. He didn't expect House Yu to be like this. But this was similar to Yu Xiaoke's personality. Perhaps Yu Xiaoke had inherited her personality from her family? Although she didn't know much at that time, some things were naturally like this. So Lin Yi unconsciously believed Yu Dake's words. Moreover, he didn't think that Yu Dake had a reason to lie to him. After all, if this matter was really investigated with Lin Yi's level, he would be able to find out. Lin Yi's current level was different from Yu Dake's. His power was limited to the hidden level, and it was limited to the hidden House of Yu. But Lin Yi was different now. Lin Yi was a famous figure in the ancient level, and he had Gu Xian, who was a spy. Dake, there's something I have to tell you. Perhaps it was because of this that your family was annihilated. Although Lin Yi's words weren't pleasant to hear, he had his own thoughts. Oh, why? Did I do something wrong? Yu Xiaoke wasn't happy. Her family was annihilated. It was a very sad thing, but wasn't Lin Yi mocking her? Yu Xiaoke, then let me ask you. Why were you surrounded by a group of thieves in the past? You stole money to do a good deed, but they didn't think so. They felt that you broke their rules, so they gave you trouble. Lin Yi said faintly. Perhaps your family helped others in the past, but became a thorn in their side. Ah, Yu Xiaoke was shocked. Yes, she thought too simply. After hearing what Lin Yi said, she understood that her family might have made a mistake because they helped others. Chapter 33-35. Dake, don't be disappointed. If that's the case, I can see if I can help you. After all, it's not your fault. Lin Yi waved his hand and said, I hate families like the Hidden Zhao family, but not families like yours. Ah, thank you, Mr. Lin. Yu Dake was surprised and happy. He thought that he had no chance of revenge at all. He didn't expect that Lin Yi would actually agree to his revenge. Although Lin Yi's words had preconditions, Yu Dake knew his family well. They wouldn't take the initiative to cause trouble. Therefore, this matter was definitely not far from the truth. In the Hakunamata Desert, there was a very solemn castle. Of course, people who didn't know would think that it was a virtual image similar to a mirage. After all, these things were very common in the desert. However, this castle really existed. This was the location of the Paoli clan. They lived in the Hakunamata Desert. Today, there were two uninvited guests standing in front of the castle. These two uninvited guests were Kong Mingming and Little One from the Five Elements sect. They were ordered by Ancestor Xianchen to come here and reach a deal with the Paoli clan. Brother Kong, it seems that the navigation given by that old thing is quite accurate. Little One pointed to a GPS device in Kong Mingming's hand and said in surprise. Of course, it's pure idiot who doesn't use advanced technology. In other words, that idiot Lin Yi is still following the map. Kong Mingming said proudly, "If it weren't for our people here, we really wouldn't have been able to come here so quickly. If Lin Yi had come first, it would have been difficult." "Yes, now it seems that we should be quite fast." Little One nodded. "Who are you?" "This is a private restricted area. Please don't go any further. Please return quickly." Just as the two were talking, a strange-looking man with pointy ears and triangular eyes wearing a totem quietly appeared in front of Kong Xiaoming and Little Yi and scolded them. Kong Mingming and Little One were startled by the appearance of this man in totem robes. This person was actually an expert at the peak of the late stage of heaven rank. He was an expert on the same level as Xiao Yi. That's right, the man in the totem attire had taken the initiative to reveal his strength. In his opinion, if these two people were cultivators, they would definitely be able to sense his strength. Since they were intimidated, they wouldn't act rashly. If they were just ordinary people, then even if they didn't reveal their strength, ordinary people wouldn't be able to sense it. They would only be able to sense some sort of majesty. "Brother, are you an expert of the Bubble Fire clan? We're cultivators from the central plains of the eastern lands, and we're on our way to your clan to discuss something with you." Kong Mingming calmed himself down and carefully cupped his fists. "Oh, cultivators from the central plains?" The man in the totem attire was stunned and couldn't help but frown. "Which sect are you from?" The Bubble Fire clan and the cultivators from the central plains hadn't been in contact for hundreds of years. At this time, the man in the totem attire was naturally a little strange when two people suddenly appeared. However, since it was a special visit, the man in the totem attire had to ask about their origins. "We're from the Five Elements sect. This is our eldest senior brother, the eldest disciple of the acting head of the Five Elements sect, Ancestor Xianchen. As for me, I'm the son-in-law of Ancestor Xianchen," Kong Mingming said. When it came to the matter of the sect head, Kong Mingming really didn't dare to talk nonsense. Ancestor Xianchen, that is, Boss Bai, hadn't died yet. No matter what, it was impossible for Ancestor Xianchen to claim to be the sect head. Because the sect head of the Five Elements sect had been chosen by the previous generation's sect head, it was impossible to change the position at will, unless this person died and his junior brother could replace him. The current situation was that Boss Bai hadn't died yet, so although Ancestor Xianchen was the actual controller of the Five Elements sect, he didn't dare to violate the rules of the Five Elements sect. He was also afraid of challenging Boss Bai's bottom line. In any case, the acting head and the official head were only a matter of title. The power was the same, so Ancestor Xianchen didn't care about this. "Oh, so you two are experts from the Five Elements sect. Wait a moment, I'll report this matter to my father." The man in the totem suit naturally knew about the Five Elements sect. As a disciple of the Bubble clan, he would understand the history of the Bubble clan's development since he was a child. Among them was the trade with the Central Plains. As the middleman, it was the Five Elements sect, so the Bubble clan was very friendly to the Five Elements sect. Although the man in the totem suit didn't know them, it didn't affect his deep-rooted thoughts since he was a child. So, his attitude toward the two immediately changed. Well said, well said. Brother, please." Kong Mingming suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that what ancestor Xianchen said was right. The Bubbly clan was very friendly to the people of the Five Elements sect. Now, from the other party's attitude, it could be seen that at least half of the matter was successful. The man in the totem suit flashed and entered the castle. Kong Mingming and Little E didn't follow him. These two people knew their identity. They came to visit the Five Elements sect to ask for help. How could they act rashly? The man in the totem suit directly entered a huge square hall in the castle. Inside the square hall, an old man was sitting on a wooden armchair. He was resting with his eyes closed. When he saw the man in the totem suit coming in, he suddenly opened his eyes and asked, "Tortu, who came to visit outside?" The man in the totem suit was called Tortu. He was the old man's third son. "Father, there are two cultivators from the Central Plains Five Elements sect outside the door. They said that they want to visit our Bubbly clan." Tortu said. "Oh, the Central Plains Five Elements sect?" The old man's eyebrows twitched. He was somewhat surprised. But then he nodded and said, "Let them come in to see me. Also call your eldest brother, second brother, and the elders." "Yes," Tortu quickly responded. He went out of the square hall and sent a follower to inform his eldest brother, second brother, and the elders. As for himself, he once again returned to the entrance of the castle. "Brother, how is it?" Kong Mingming saw that Tortu had returned and quickly asked, "Please come in, my father wants to see you," Tortu said and made an inviting gesture. "All right." Kong Mingming and Little E quickly followed behind. In the square hall of the castle, Tortu's eldest brother Tortai, second brother Torkong, and the three elders of the Bubbly clan were standing behind Tortu's father, Torian Moon. Chapter 33-36. I'm Kong Mingming from the Five Elements sect in the Central Plains of the East. I'm the son-in-law of our Five Elements sect's acting sect master, ancestor Xianchen. This is my eldest senior brother, Hee. Kong Mingming introduced himself. Thor Remoon looked at Kong Mingming and Little E from head to toe. His eyes were like torches, making Kong Ming a little uncomfortable. At this time, Thor Remoon suddenly asked, "As far as I know, the current sect master of Five Elements sect is ancestor Xiantian. How did it become ancestor Xianchen?" Although the Bubbly clan was in the Outland, it didn't mean that they didn't care about the cultivation sects in the Central Plains. It might not be easy for those cultivation sects to inquire about the Bubbly clan. After all, the Bubbly clan was a closed family. However, it wasn't too difficult for the Bubbly clan to inquire about those cultivation sects. After all, these cultivation sects weren't closed. This ancestor Xiantan. Because of other matters, he is no longer in Five Elements sect. Our Five Elements sect is now under my father-in-law, ancestor Xianchen. Kong Mingming said vaguely. "Oh, ancestor Xianchen I also know." Thor Remoon just casually asked. He was old and experienced. When he heard Kong Mingming's tone, he knew that the Five Elements sect might be in discord. But after all, this was an internal matter of Five Elements sect. Thor Remoon didn't want to care too much. "Do the two of you have a token?" "Yes, here is a letter written by my father-in-law, ancestor Xianchen, to your clan. Please have a look, old patriarch." Kong Xiaoming could tell that Thor Ryu was the person in charge of the Paoli clan, so he directly handed the letter to him. Tortu didn't let Kong Mingming approach Thor Remoon. Instead, he handed the letter to Thor Remoon. When Thor Remoon opened the letter and saw the special communication code between Five Elements sect and Bubbly clan, he finally confirmed the identity of Kong Mingming and Little E. The letter didn't say anything, just some greetings. The last thing was that Kong Mingming and Little E had something to discuss with Bubbly clan. Sure enough, a friend from Five Elements sect, have a seat. Thor Ryu nodded and gestured with his hand. Tortu promptly moved two chairs for Kong Mingming and Little One. After they sat down, he stood to the side once again. It looked like the Paoli clan's rules were very strict. Even a peak heaven rank expert like Tortu didn't have a seat in front of the elders. "Thank you very much," Kong Mingming and Xiaoyi quickly said. "What's the matter for the two of you to come here from afar?" Thor asked after putting down the letter. "Old clan, we have actually come here with the intention of reaching an agreement with the Paoli clan," Kong Mingming said. "What agreement? Let's hear the specifics." Thor Ryu asked flatly. Before figuring out whether the matter was beneficial to the Paoli clan, Thor Ryu wouldn't easily express his position. It's like this: in a few days, there may be a cultivator from our central plains who will come here to buy your clan's white energy stones. I hope your clan can refuse the transaction. Kong Mingming didn't beat around the bush and directly stated his intention. Oh? Why is that? Thor Ryu didn't expect Kong Mingming to put forward such a request. Of course, he didn't rush to express his position and just asked a question. I won't say much about the specific reason. We are sworn enemies. Of course, in return we can give some benefits such as some cultivation resources, treasures and so on. Kong Xiaoming changed the topic and continued. Of course, if your noble family is willing to help us kill this person, we can provide even greater benefits. For example, we can specially refine some rare medicinal pills for your noble family. I believe Old Patriarch is also aware of our 5 elements sex elixir refining technology. Oh, Thor Ryu was really interested in elixirs. He knew his clan well. Because of cultivation deviation, he tried to forcibly attack the Heaven's Way, but failed. His meridians were broken, and he became a cripple. If he could take a top-grade 4th-grade great revitalizing pill, then he could recover. Nothing could be more painful for a cultivator than this, and he was still the patriarch of the Paoli clan. Although he lost his strength, his son and the elders didn't disrespect him. But the more it was like this, the more uncomfortable he felt in his heart. How could a cripple with no strength be respected by others? Therefore, all these years, his only thought was to find a way to recover as soon as possible, so that he wouldn't miss the future Heaven Step Island plan. He regretted it now. If he wasn't so anxious to attack the Heaven's Way, he wouldn't have become like this. And the arrival of Kong Mingming gave him a glimmer of hope. Although the hope wasn't big, he could still try. Besides, even if Kong Mingming didn't say anything about white energy stones, Thor Ryu wouldn't trade them with others. There weren't many white energy stones left, and the Paoli clan wanted to keep them for their own use. It was impossible to exchange them for others. As for killing Kong Mingming's sworn enemy, it would depend on Kong Mingming's sincerity and the difficulty of this matter. What grade of elixir can you refine? Thor Ryu asked calmly. Moreover, isn't the best alchemist in your 5 elements sect Old Ancestor Mysterious Sky? Isn't he the current pill god? It seems that there should be some conflict within your 5 elements sect, right? Can you still let him refine elixirs for you? Old Ancestor Mysterious Sky is a thing of the past. Don't mention it. Kong Mingming obviously didn't want to talk too much about Boss Bai, so he said, Old Patriarch, you may not understand, but the best alchemist in our 5 elements sect is my second martial uncle Old Ancestor Mysterious Sky. He can refine 3rd-grade elixirs with ease, and he is now in seclusion to become a higher-level alchemist. 4th-grade elixirs are just around the corner. 4th-grade elixirs are just around the corner? Thor Ryu's eyes lit up slightly. If he could really refine 4th-grade elixirs, then his injuries could really be cured. Thinking of this, Thor Ryu asked, if you can refine a top-grade 4th-grade Great Recovery pill for me, then we can consider agreeing to your request. Thor Ryu's words made the other Paoli clan members present a little excited. Yes, if they could really get a top-grade 4th-grade Great Recovery pill, then this deal could be done no matter how difficult it was. Chapter 33-37. I have heard of Xianjin Ancestor, an alchemist second only to Xiantian Ancestor. Thor Ryu nodded. Xiantian Ancestor has been crippled. His meridians are broken. How can he be compared to my second martial uncle? Kong Mingming quickly said, dispelling the idea of Thor Ryu looking for Xiantian Ancestor. He wanted to confirm this matter. In fact, Kong Mingming's words were just drawing a big cake to attract the Bubbly clan. How could Kong Mingming not know the level of Xianjin Ancestor? He had tried to break through to the 4th-grade alchemist several times and failed. How could a 4th-grade pill be so easy to refine? But Kong Mingming's promise didn't violate anything. When we can refine it, we will definitely refine it for you first, but now we can't, so you can only wait, right? Therefore, Kong Mingming can make the decision himself and agree to this matter. Oh, then tell me, why didn't you kill your enemy yourself but let us do it? Thor Ryu asked. If I'm not mistaken, the strength of the 2 of you shouldn't be low, right? Your 5 elements sect should have a lot of experts. Why do you want us to do it? Thor Ryu must figure this out. Is there something fishy about it? In fact, it's not a big reason, it's just that this person can die, but he can't die in the hands of our five elements sect. When Kong Ming said until here, he lowered his voice and said, "The plan of the heavenly law. Old Patriarch knows about it, right? Our five elements sect is now preparing for it. We don't want to complicate matters. Dying in the hands of the foreign people and dying in our hands will bring different results." Kong Xiaoming's words were tantamount to not saying anything. This reason was a bit too vague. However, when Thor Ryu heard that it was related to the Heaven Step Island project, he didn't ask anymore. In any case, killing a person in Paoli clan's territory wasn't a big deal. Although they might become enemies, Bubbly clan was not afraid of becoming enemies. Their strength was there. Moreover, even if they become enemies, Thor Ryu wanted to recover. What is the strength of that person? When will he come? Thor Ryu asked. That person's current strength is at the middle phase of Sky Class, but he has some ability. He can fight someone stronger than him. Old Master, you must be prepared, Kong Xiaoming said. As for killing a peak heaven rank late stage expert, Kong Ming, he didn't say it. He was afraid that the clan wouldn't do it. After all, peak heaven realm peak late stage expert wouldn't dare to say they could kill a peak stage expert. But Kong Ming also reminded them that Lin Yi was very powerful and could fight enemies above his rank. When the time comes, the Bubbly clan would suffer a loss, but they couldn't blame Kong Ming. Kong Ming reminded them in advance, but they didn't take it to heart. Moreover, Kong Ming was a bad person. He actually wanted Lin Yi to injure or kill a member of the Bubbly clan. Then Lin Yi and the Bubbly clan would become mortal enemies. At that time, there would be no need for Kong Ming to say anything. The Bubbly clan would do their best to keep Lin Yi here. Kong Ming was a person who could scheme against anyone. Mid-heaven rank? Thor Ryu let out a sigh of relief when he heard Lin Yi's strength level. A person with such strength coming to the Paoli clan was basically a one-way trip. Thor Ryu didn't even think about it before agreeing. No problem. I can help you get rid of this person, but you have to honor the pill you promised me. It wasn't that Thor Ryu was arrogant, it was because no peak late stage heaven rank great perfection expert would be afraid of Lin Yi's strength. Moreover, although the Bubbly clan had some understanding of the Central Plains cultivation world, they didn't know everything. Lin Yi had only appeared in the past year, and he had only appeared in the past few months. It was normal that the Bubbly clan didn't know about it. Rest assured, if the old patriarch really helps us get rid of this person, then as long as my second uncle successfully becomes a fourth-grade alchemist, he will be the first to refine a pill for your clan. Kong Ming patted his chest and guaranteed. Of course, his underlying meaning was that if you don't get rid of Lin Yi, or if my second uncle doesn't successfully become a fourth-grade alchemist, then you can't blame us. Naturally, for Kong Ming's underlying meaning, Thor Ryu could also hear it, but it was the latter. He didn't think that Kong Ming would think that they couldn't get rid of a mid-heaven rank expert. This was clearly impossible. As for the latter, Thor Ryu also knew that everything had its risks. Xianjin Ancestor was now a third-grade alchemist. Who could guarantee that he wouldn't become a fourth-grade alchemist in the future? It seems to be just an ethereal promise, but one must know that Xianjin Ancestor must be constantly working hard. Only he himself wants to become a fourth-grade alchemist. Who doesn't want to improve their strength? So this matter is still very hopeful. Moreover, now Thor Ryu has no other hope. As long as there is a glimmer of hope, he doesn't want to give up, not to mention that this hope is still very likely to be realized. Well, leave this matter to me. You give me this person's appearance, then Tortu, you take these two guests to rest and wait for the news. Thor Ryu said. Yes, father. Tortu responded. Kong Ming readily agreed. Even if Thor Ryu didn't ask them to stay as guests, they would wait here and watch Lin Yi being killed, so naturally, they left with Tortu. At the same time, Kong Ming also sent Lin Yi's photo to Tortu for his reference. Tortu glanced at it and didn't care much at all. After sending Kong Ming and Little E to the guest room, he returned to the square hall. Father, the two guests have been arranged to rest, Tortu said. This time, can Five Elements sect really help us refine elixirs? I don't know, but there is always hope. It's good that there is hope. I didn't even have hope before. Thor Ryu looked very happy. It's just this time, for my own sake, I can't bear to kill an innocent person who came here to trade. Yes, I'm afraid that they came here to trade with us, Even if we don't trade with them, we can't just kill them. Tortu also had a gloomy expression. Their Pauli clan is not the kind of clan that likes to invade others. Chapter 33-38. This. Tortu hesitated after listening to him. I don't think so, right? So what we are doing is just to help those wronged souls get justice. In fact, Tortu didn't know that the people who died under Lin Yi's hands were people who deserved to die. There were no wronged souls. That's right, then leave this matter to me. I can still deal with a middle stage heaven stage master. Tortu volunteered. Okay, you are on duty this month, so I will leave this person to you. Have you got the photo? Tortu asked. And I got it. Tortu nodded and said, I will also pay attention these days. In the guest room of the Bubbly clan, Little One looked at Kong Ming and asked with some confusion, Junior brother Kong, why don't you tell the people of the Bubbly clan that Lin Yi is very powerful? Even a great perfection master may not be his opponent. What if they fail? He fail? I'm not afraid of him failing. I'm afraid that he won't fail. Kong Ming smiled and said, Senior brother, I'm afraid you don't understand why I'm doing this, but think about it. If Lin Yi kills or cripples one of the people of the Bubbly clan, wouldn't they become mortal enemies? Why does our 5-element sect want to kill Lin Yi so much? Isn't it because our people have suffered heavy casualties in his hands? That's right. Little One patted his head and suddenly realized, Junior brother Kong, I didn't expect you to be so resourceful. No wonder Master likes you and relies on you. Haha, this is all a conspiracy, it's nothing. Kong Ming waved his hand. He smiled and said indifferently, no matter what, if we can kill Lin Yi this time, you and I will have done a great service, and we will also get justice for our juniors. Little One nodded. At this time, Lin Yi's car was slowly approaching the Hakunamata Desert. Mr. Lin, the Hakunamata Desert is just up ahead. Should we go to the Baoli tribe first or return to my home first? Udake asked. Although he was eager to return home, but he had to seek Lin Yi's opinion first. Let's go to your house to have a look first. After all, we'll be looking for the Bubbly clan. As for your house, we can just go there directly. Lin Yi said. Thank you, Mr. Lin. Udake was pleasantly surprised and quickly said. Since the route was decided, Lin Yi naturally closed his eyes to rest. He asked Udake to drive himself. In fact, Udake's home was not in the Hakunamata Desert, but at the edge. There was a small town at the edge of the desert, and the Yu family was a prominent family in this small town. However, this was something that happened more than 10 years ago. The residents here had long forgotten about the Yu family. After all, the Yu family was just a big family to outsiders. How would these ordinary people know about cultivators? So when other families appeared, it was only natural that they replaced the Yu family's position in the secular world. I haven't been here for more than 10 years. The town has really changed a lot. Udake saw that the town had begun to move towards modernization. Cars were also often seen, and he couldn't help but feel emotional. One had to know that when he was a child, the main means of transportation here were horses and camels. Yuxiaoka also widened her eyes, curiously looking at the customs here. She was too young to remember anything, and she had no impression of this town at all. They came all the way to a manor where Udake's Yu family used to be. But what made Udake a little strange was that this manor looked very neat and tidy. It didn't look like a dilapidated manor that had been abandoned for more than 10 years. How was this possible? Although the Yu family used to give alms to the poor people in the town, and they also spontaneously helped the Yu family to clean the manor regularly when the Yu family was in ruins, it was definitely not as simple as cleaning. No one could clean it for more than 10 years. The Yu family was gone, so what was there to clean? Moreover, the deeper they went, the more they could see that this manor had been repaired. What are the three of you doing? This is private property, trespassers will die. Just when Udake was feeling a little strange, a group of men in black suddenly rushed over and surrounded the three of them. In fact, when these people appeared, Lin Yi had already sensed it, but he didn't understand the situation here, so he didn't make a move and planned to see what was going on. After all, in Lin Yi's eyes, these people were just small characters, and the leader was only a mystic class master. Who are you? What are you doing here? Udake was stunned. This was his home, why was there a group of outsiders here? However, Lin Yi's golden finger could see the strength of this leader. But Udake didn't have a golden finger, so naturally he couldn't see it. This is the Gu family's manor, and I am the chief guard here. The leader said proudly. Looking at you, you're not from this town, right? Leave this place quickly, and I will let bygones be bygones, or else don't leave. Gu family? Udake had never heard of this Gu family and he was stunned. You're talking big, aren't you? Gu family's territory? This is clearly my Yu family's manor. How did it become the Gu family's? What Yu family? Kid, I think you're here to cause trouble, right? The chief guard had never heard of the Yu family, so he instinctively thought that Udake was here to cause trouble. Cause trouble? Udake frowned. Who is the person in charge here? Ask him to come out and see me. This is clearly my family's place. How could it be forcefully occupied? Udake wasn't worried about the house now, but whether the secret room had been discovered or not. There were some ancient books of the Yu family hidden in it. Lin Yi finally understood what was going on. Udake's house had been taken over by someone. Although Udake's house had been empty for more than 10 years, it was still unreasonable to say that it was directly occupied like this. Of course, Lin Yi didn't force it. If the other party gave up this place after a negotiation, then Lin Yi couldn't do anything to them. Lin Yi was also reasonable. He wouldn't simply hurt people. I think you're here to cause trouble. You still want to see our old Master Gu? That's wishful thinking. The chief guard snorted disdainfully. Kid, don't tell me I didn't warn you. If you don't leave, I will kill you. Do you believe me? Do you know that in this town our Gu family has the final say? Chapter 33-39. It was obvious that these people had taken advantage of his absence to forcibly occupy this ownerless land. Of course, Udake didn't blame them. As long as they were willing to give up and leave behind the things in their homes, Udake really didn't need to be calculative with them. But this person's attitude obviously made Udake very angry. You occupied someone else's place and you're still in the right? Kill me? I really don't believe it. Udake said coldly. Although he wasn't much in the ancient world, in this mortal world, he didn't believe that anyone would dare to act like a tyrant over his head. Since you don't believe it, then I'll fulfill your wish. The head guard was also very annoyed. Since this person wanted to die, then let him die. As he said that, he grabbed towards Udake. The aura of a cultivator on his body was also revealed at this moment. Of course, he didn't use too much strength. After all, in his opinion, Udake was just a small character in the mortal world. Wouldn't he be turned into ashes with a wave of his hand? Mystic late phase peak master? I didn't expect you to be a cultivator. Udake was shocked. He thought that this place was occupied by some rich merchant in the mortal world, but he didn't expect that it was a cultivator. Could it be that these people had something to do with the annihilation of his family? Udake couldn't be blamed for thinking too much. In fact, in the mortal world, cultivators were very rare. Although Udake usually met cultivators, it was also because he stood on a different level. This was because a rich person would definitely have a lot of rich friends around him, and a beggar basically only knew beggars and vagrants. This was the problem of social circle. However, suddenly encountering a cultivator here made Udake vigilant. Oh, you know cultivators? The head guard's face changed. He didn't expect that the person who came could actually see through his strength, but he didn't think it was a big deal. In his opinion, his strength in the mortal world was quite amazing. He didn't stop, but instead increased the strength of his fist. Udake snorted coldly. He didn't dodge and directly punched towards the head guard's fist. He was a late-phase peak Earth-class cultivator. Although he was weaker than Lin Yi, he could still suppress the head guard. Boom! The two fists collided. Udake stood unscathed on the spot, while the head guard was sent flying backward, blood spurting out of his mouth. His entire body fell onto the wall of the manor's entrance, and he was in a daze. Udake did not want to kill him, nor did he use any martial techniques. However, the simple head-on collision had already caused the head guard to suffer extremely serious internal injuries, but he wouldn't die. You're an Earth-class late-phase peak? What are you doing here? You actually dared to injure me. Although the head guard was questioning Udake, his voice was clearly a little fierce. Me what? I'll spare your dog life. Go in and inform the people who can speak to me. Udake snorted coldly. Obviously, he was already very angry. If it was anyone else who had their home forcefully occupied and was unreasonable, they wouldn't feel comfortable either. Just you wait. Just you wait. The head guard was the strongest among the guards. Now that he was beaten up, the others naturally didn't dare to step forward. At this time they all came over and helped the head guard up. They walked into the manor. In the manor's castle, Old Man Gu was having his breakfast. Under normal circumstances, no one would disturb him when he was eating, not even his descendants and disciples. But at this time, the head guard was quickly hobbling into the dining hall with the help of the younger guards. "Who is it? Don't you know that I don't like to be disturbed when I'm eating?" Old Man Gu heard the footsteps at the door and immediately shouted in annoyance. "Old Man Gu, it's not good. Someone came looking for trouble and beat me up like this. Old Man Gu, I'm your disciple, you have to avenge me." The head guard still didn't know that there was no hope for him. He still wanted to get back at Old Man Gu. "What?" Old Man Gu was shocked when he saw the head guard's pitiful state. He stood up abruptly and asked, "Who beat you up like this?" "You're a mystic late-phase peak master. Could it be that this person is stronger than you?" "Yes, it's an Earth-class late-phase peak master. I'm definitely not his match, so only you can do it yourself, Old Man Gu," the head guard said sorrowfully. "Humph. You stay here and inform the rest of our people. I'll go take a look myself. I don't believe that there's still someone who dares to cause trouble in my Gu family's manor. Do they want to die?" Old Man Gu slammed the table and said angrily, "Yes, Old Man Gu," the head guard quickly replied. After Old Man Gu left, he quickly sent the other guards to inform the rest of the Gu family to support them. As for himself, he went out with the help of another guard. He wanted to see with his own eyes how Udake would be taught a lesson. Old Master Gu took the lead and rushed out of the manor. When he saw Udake and the other two standing at the entrance of the manor, his eyes were about to spit fire. They actually dared to behave atrociously in front of the Gu family's door. Were they tired of living? "Who injured my Gu family's disciple just now? Come out and tell me the reason, and I'll give you a quick death. Otherwise, I'll make sure you die a slow death," Old Man Gu roared. After saying that, Old Man Gu revealed his domineering strength as a late-stage heaven mage. His strength was his greatest reliance. After all, let alone the secular world, this kind of strength would make him an extremely powerful existence even in an ancient sect. Old Man Gu's strength made Udake a little timid. He subconsciously took 2 steps back, but Lin Yi patted his shoulder to calm him down. With Lin Yi's encouragement, Udake felt more confident. He took a deep breath and said, "I'm Udake. This is the place where the Yu family has lived for generations. Who are you people? You took my family by force and wanted to kill me. If I didn't have some strength, would I be dead now?" "You family?" Old Man Gu paused, then seemed to remember something. "You're from the Yu family? Wasn't your family exterminated back then? Could it be that there were fish that escaped the net? Looking at your age, you should be a descendant of the Yu family?" Chapter 3340. Haha. Since you're here today, you won't be able to leave. I'm not afraid to tell you that your Yu family was destroyed by my master back then. Old Gu didn't hide it and laughed coldly. "Since you're a survivor, then die." Udake wanted to ask more questions, but he saw Old Master Gu's fist flying towards him. Lin Yi frowned slightly. He wanted to wait for Udake to say a few more words before killing this old Gu. But he didn't expect that this person would attack right away. It made Lin Yi feel helpless, but Lin Yi was also decisive. He used the 11th form of the Frenzy 8 Trigram's palm, and slapped it at Old Gu from the side. Old Gu's attention was on Udake, and he didn't pay attention to Lin Yi and Yu Xiaoka. He thought that they were Udake's friends. From his perspective, these two wouldn't be very powerful. After all, if they were Udake's friends, they would be very arrogant. It wouldn't be 2 youngsters. Old Gu's heart was pounding. Moreover, this Udake obviously didn't know that he and his master were his enemies. He only found out about it from Old Gu's mouth after coming here, so it was obvious that he wasn't here for revenge. Hence, Old Gu didn't care about Lin Yi at all. This caused Lin Yi's sudden attack to catch him off guard. Old Gu didn't even get a chance to hit Udake before Lin Yi sent him flying with a single move. Old Gu was about to hit someone, so why would he use chi to protect himself? As for Lin Yi, the 11th form of the Frenzy 8 trigrams palm had a 50-50 chance of killing a peak late phase Sky Class Master. But it was easy for him to kill a late phase Sky Class Master. Even without the Jade's buff, he still managed to kill Elder Gu in one hit. At the same time, when Lin Yi sent Old Master Gu flying, the members of the Gu family walked out of the manor. They were there to cheer. But the scene in front of them left them dumbfounded. Old Master Gu, who they thought was superior and powerful, was sent flying while vomiting blood. However, none of them dared to act rashly. They knew that they couldn't afford to offend someone who could beat up Old Master Gu to such a state. You. The head guard originally wanted to see Old Master Gu fight for him, but he didn't expect to see Old Master Gu repeat the same mistake and fly out with blood spurting out of his mouth just like he did just now. However, Old Master Gu was even more miserable than him. After he was sent flying, he twitched twice and stopped moving. It was obvious that he was dead. Father. 2 men who looked similar to Old Master Gu ran over to his corpse and wailed mournfully. Who is your father's master? Who destroyed the Yu family back then? Were you involved? Lin Yi looked at the 2 men and asked. We don't know. The 2 men were obviously cowards, or rather, they were frightened by Lin Yi and didn't dare to resist Lin Yi. How could our family be involved? My father just found a great backer from the Chinese plains. We're just here as their eyes. As for our master's identity, we don't know. Don't kill us, great swordsman, I'm sorry, this is your place, we'll move now, just don't kill us. It seemed that the 2 sons of Old Master Gu were cowards. They had been scared silly by Lin Yi. They spilled out everything they knew, not daring to hide anything. Oh, do you know the name of your master? Asked Lin Yi with a frown. We don't know this. Our master didn't tell me. Sun Gu said with a bitter face. Our Gu family was just a small family back then. Maybe young Master Yu doesn't have an impression. When the master destroyed the Yu family, our family just happened to move here. My father was more clever and got close to them, so he became their eyes. He received some cultivation resources regularly. As for who they were, we didn't dare to ask. Is that so? Is there no clue at all? Lin Yi frowned and asked. How did you contact them? They contacted us on their own initiative. We don't have their contact information. And the cultivation resources were mailed. Said Sun Gu. What you said is nonsense. It's not enough to save your lives. Lin Yi knew that if he didn't intimidate these people, they wouldn't be able to say anything useful without pressure. Don't. There is one more important thing. Sun Gu threw caution to the wind at this time. Although the other party asked them to keep this matter a secret, they couldn't keep it a secret anymore. Anyway, they would leave this place after they finished talking. It was impossible to cross paths with those people again. It was more important to save their lives. Say it. Lin Yi said coldly. It's like this. Master sent 2 messengers a few days ago. They rested with us for a night and left. Sun Gu said. We don't know their names. My father received these 2 people personally. We didn't even get to talk to them. We don't even know what they look like. However, what we know is that they asked my father about the location of the Bubbly clan. If I'm not mistaken, they should have gone to the Bubbly clan. If you can find these 2 people, then there might be clues. In the beginning, these 2 people threatened the Gu family. They couldn't say their whereabouts and things that happened. Otherwise, they would destroy the Gu family. However, even if they didn't say it now, they would still destroy the Gu family. It was better to say it first. At least they could delay their death. Therefore, he spat out everything. Oh, 2 people came. They went to the Bubbly clan? Even if Lin Yi was a very calm person, a wisp of surprise and disbelief couldn't help but flash on his face at this moment. He didn't expect that it would be such a coincidence. However, what relationship did these 2 people have with the Bubbly clan? Was it because they had a close relationship, or? This made Lin Yi's mind a little messed up. He was going to trade with the Bubbly clan this time, and to put it bluntly, he was asking for their help. But now, 2 more enemies of Udake had appeared. Chapter 3341. Yes, but we don't know what they are going to do. Our family is only a marginal servant, we just happen to get close to them, so don't make things difficult for us. My father is the mastermind, he is already dead, we juniors don't know anything. Gu's son begged with a sullen face. Oh, leave behind the map of the Throwingly clan and then scram. You are not allowed to take anything from here. Linny waved his hand and said, "Yet, we won't take it, just take our lives." Gu's son promptly replied, "I have the coordinates of the Bubbly clan, you only need to input it into the navigator." When these people saw that Old Man Gu was already dead, they naturally did not have any backbone to resist. One by one, they fled the place in a panic. The originally bustling manor suddenly became empty. After watching these people leave, Linny turned to Udake and said, "You don't blame me for letting these people go without permission, right? Many of these people are small characters, there is no point in killing them. No, what happened back then has nothing to do with them. These people are just lackeys who curry favor with those in power. Old Man Gu's death can be considered to have vented the anger of them forcibly occupying the ancestral house." Udake shook his head. "Moreover, I still have to thank Mr. Lin for today's matter. If not for you, I'm afraid the one lying on the ground would have been me. But it seems that the rumors are true. Mr. Lin can instantly kill a peak heaven rank late stage expert." Haha. Linny smiled and didn't say much, he only said, "Find what you need, then we'll go to the Bubbly clan. If we can meet those two, we might be able to take revenge in passing, otherwise if we go too late and they leave, we won't have any clues." Ah. Udake was surprised and happy. Lin Yi's words proved that Linny would take care of this matter. If Linny intervened, then it shouldn't be difficult to solve this matter. After all, Linny had killed a heaven-rank late-stage expert. What kind of strength was that? Therefore, Udake quickly thanked him. "Thank you, Mr. Lin." Looking at her brother's expression, Yu Xiaoke frowned but didn't say anything. Why was Linny trying to please her family? Xiaoke felt uneasy. She was thinking too much. Linny had helped a lot of people, and sometimes he didn't have a goal in mind. But Xiaoke's first impression, she thought that he was trying to please her. But even so, Xiaoke was helpless. Linny was getting stronger and stronger, and she could only rely on Linny for revenge. However, now that he had gotten his revenge, how would he choose? Xiaoke's headache was getting worse. Udake led the way. He didn't even glance at some of the antiques and paintings in the castle. These things were priceless in the eyes of the secular world, but for cultivators, these were dispensable things. What they cared about were cultivation resources and their own strength. Under Udake's lead, the three came to the basement of the castle. After going down, they realized that the basement was filled with junk. It was a mess of useless things. This used to be House Yu's warehouse, and after House Gu took over, they used it as a warehouse and didn't use it. So Udake saw this situation and let out a sigh of relief. Udake came to a corner of the warehouse. On the wall there was a tattered painting. After seeing the painting, Udake's face became serious. He walked forward and carefully took the painting down. Behind the painting there was a password-like mechanism. There was a group of strange characters on it, and each character could be pressed. It seemed that they had to be pressed in order to unlock the mechanism. This was an inconspicuous corner, and it was in the warehouse. It seemed that no one from House Gu studied this place carefully. They probably didn't even bother to touch these tattered paintings. Udake carefully pressed a set of password code. The password code was very long, and no one knew how Udake remembered it. One had to know that he was only a few years old when the accident happened. But maybe he got some kind of log or something. Rumble. After the password code was correct, the mechanism began to activate. The originally flat ground suddenly began to sink. It turned out that this was an elevator, just like the stone coffin in the ancient tomb. The three of them followed the ground and landed on the next floor of the basement. It turned out that there was a hidden space beneath the basement. It seems like House Gu didn't discover this place. Udake looked at the things in front of him happily. On the first floor there was a large storeroom. It was like a supermarket with rows of shelves. Perhaps the cultivation resources and books of the Yu family were placed on top of them. Udake came to the innermost bookshelf with ease. He stretched out his hand and took out a thin booklet. He smiled and said, "Xiaoke, it's done. It's here." Oh, Xiaoke was happy. After all, she was looking forward to increasing her strength. After all, she was weak and had been in danger many times. If it wasn't for the male thief's help, she wouldn't be standing here alive. Nuwa's heaven patching art? Xiaoke was shocked by the name of the art. This name was quite strong and it sounded very domineering. She didn't know if it was just a bluff or if it was real. Yes, this is the secret art of Wuxia, but only girls can practice it. I can't, Udake said. Then, I can practice it? Xiaoke opened the manual expectantly, but she was a physical practitioner and had never come into contact with spiritual practitioners before. Her family and sect didn't teach her anything about spiritual practitioners either, so she didn't know where to start. But, I don't know anything about spiritual practitioners, Linny said with a smile. I don't know anything about spiritual practitioners. It's actually not that hard, Dake said as he told Xiaoke about the spiritual practitioner's training method. So troublesome. Xiaoke felt a headache coming on. She couldn't sleep at night? She had to meditate? Wasn't it tiring? It'd be great if Linny could level up his strength. Chapter 33-42. She could pretend that the donation to the orphanage wasn't a big deal, but if Linny were to help her level up, then it wouldn't be a business matter anymore. Xiaoke would owe him a huge favor. However, everything is difficult at the beginning. If you want to smoothly step onto the path of the inner sex cultivation, this mantra must be cultivated at home. This is the ancestral teaching, so Xiaoku, you should start cultivating in a while. Udake instructed. Okay. Xiaoke nodded and flipped through the incantation, but as time went on, Xiaoke's eyebrows furrowed. Brother, this mental cultivation method doesn't seem to be a mental cultivation method that can be used in battle. Why does it look like a defensive mental cultivation method? Defense type? What do you mean? Xiaoku, you know that I'm a man. It's impossible for me to practice this mantra. When I left home I was young. Naturally, I didn't hear my elders talk about this, so I don't understand it. What do you mean by defensive type? Udake asked. It says here that the Nuwa Skymending mantra is actually a mantra that can defend against attacks. For example, when I was at the Golden class, I could defend against the attacks of Golden class masters. Of course, the duration of the defense also has a lot to do with my own strength. Xiaoke explained, for example, if I'm at the early phase of the Golden class, I can block a full-powered attack from a master at the late phase peak, but the number of times I can block it and the amount of time I can block it is quite limited. But if I'm at the late phase peak, I can be immune for a long time. Oh, what kind of technique is this? It doesn't seem like much. You just stand there and defend. It's better to run away. Udake was stunned when he heard that. If this mental cultivation method was really like that, although it sounded very powerful, it was actually just a defensive mental cultivation method. One couldn't attack and could only stand there and take hits. What was the point of that? It's not like that. For example, if the three of us were together, I could defend together. Xiaoke shook her head. He said, this mantra should be a support type. Oh, it can help others defend? Linny was shocked. If that was the case, then it would truly be a heaven-defying mantra. No wonder it was a family heirloom. Although it didn't sound like much, Linny knew how awesome this mantra was. For example, although Linny could instantly kill a peak late-stage heaven-rank powerhouse, that was when he caught them off guard. If the two of them fought together, the one to die would be Lin Yi. After all, Lin Yi's strength was there for all to see. But with Xiaoke's technique, everything was different. Xiaoke immediately used a defense. Others couldn't beat him, Lin Yi, but Lin Yi could beat others. Didn't that mean that whoever he beat would die? Yes, if it's a team battle, it should be very useful. Xiaoke evidently saw the benefits of this technique. However, if it was to travel the world alone, then it wouldn't be of much use. Xiaoku, go ahead and cultivate. Level up to Sky class as soon as possible, then you can be my helper. Linny was excited just thinking about it. All along, Lin Yi's own strength was Lin Yi's weakness. If he had Xiaoke's help, he could make up for it. Who wants to be your helper? Xiaoke scoffed and ignored Lin Yi. She took the mantra and went to find a place to cultivate. Dake looked at Lin Yi apologetically and shrugged. Mr. Lin, I'll talk to Xiaoku and ask her to help you in the future. Let's talk about it later. Lin Yi smiled indifferently. Xiaoke wanted to help him, but she had to become a Sky class master first. It wasn't possible at the moment. Xiaoke was a smart girl. Although she had just started practicing spiritual qi, with the help of Udake's method, Wuxia was able to cultivate qi easily. Although there was still a long way to go before she could reach the golden class, at least she had stepped onto the path of spiritual qi cultivation. Brother, I've already cultivated true qi. Can we go now? Although Xiaoke was angry at Lin Yi on the surface, she knew that Lin Yi was here for official business. She didn't want to waste Lin Yi's time. And it's fine. Udake was a little surprised. He didn't expect Xiaoke to be this talented in the path of cultivation. One had to know that when he first started cultivating, it took him more than half a month to cultivate qi. That was considered fast, but Xiaoke was even faster. On the other hand, Lin Yi was also surprised by Xiaoke's speed. Although Lin Yi was seen as a cultivation genius in the outside world, Lin Yi knew that if he didn't have the jade space, he wouldn't be able to improve so fast. Xiaoke, I have something to tell you. In the car, Lin Yi suddenly said. What is it? Xiaoke asked. You should know about the dean, right? If you agree, I can raise your strength to Earth class late phase peak just like your brother. Lin Yi said. This way, you won't have to train too hard. Xiaoke was a little moved by his words, but she was suspicious of his motives. You must be hiding evil intentions. What are you trying to do? Lin Yi smiled. What are you trying to do? What do you want? You're the thief, okay? The flying sparrow sex flying sparrow? Lin Yi couldn't help but smile bitterly. Flying sparrow? Xiaoke paused and looked at him strangely. How do you know I'm the flying sparrow? To be honest, Xiaoke was very curious. Flying Sparrow was just an alias she used when she went on missions. She never told Lin Yi about it. Even her brother Udake didn't know. How did Lin Yi know? Did the dean tell him? The dean was the only one who knew about this, but why was he telling Lin Yi this? Don't change the topic. I'm just asking for your opinion. If you don't want to, then forget it. Lin Yi said faintly. Lin Yi looked very calm on the surface, but Lin Yi was smiling bitterly on the inside. He accidentally said the wrong thing again. Xiaoke wanted to say no, but did she really want to? She wanted to reach the heavens in one step. Which practitioner didn't want to get stronger? But she couldn't just say yes. Chapter 33-43. This way of leveling up had its drawbacks, so Lin Yi had to remind Xiaoke. This way of leveling up has its drawbacks as well. After I help you level up, the energy in the world will no longer be effective for your training. If you want to level up again, you'll have to rely on me or pills like the Qi Gathering pill. Xiaoke didn't think that there would be side effects. She really needed to think about it carefully. The first time Udake went to the Bubble Li clan, he was just a blind man groping an elephant. He had no destination, so he failed. But this time was different. With the detailed coordinates given by Gu's son, he just needed to drive the car there. There was no need to take any detours. And so, it only took a day for Lin Yi to get close to the Palfis. The castle in the desert was already in sight. I didn't think that we would find this place so easily. Udake said with a sigh. Be more vigilant. After all, they are outsiders. We need to be careful. Lin Yi said to Udake. I understand. Udake nodded. The car slowly drove towards the castle. When the car was approaching, a man with sharp ears and triangular eyes wearing a totem suddenly appeared in front of the jeep, blocking the way of Udake and the others. This man was Tortu. He had been waiting here for the past few days, waiting for Lin Yi's arrival so that he could take care of Lin Yi. Stop the car, what are you doing? Tortu scolded. Udake quickly stopped the car and looked at the man in front of the car strangely. This was because the man's appearance was too different from ordinary people. Udake was shocked. You are a friend of the Bubble Li clan, right? We come from the Central Plains 5 Elements sect. My master is the current head of the 5 Elements sect, Elder Xintian. Boss Bai, we are here to do business with the nobles. Lin Yi said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. These words were suggested by Boss Bai before. After all, the Bubble Li clan and the 5 Elements sect had a relationship, so Lin Yi directly revealed his identity. The purpose was to make the other party have a good impression, and then continue to talk about cooperation. However, Lin Yi's words stunned Tortu. He looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. He didn't expect that Lin Yi was also a member of the 5 Elements sect. Moreover, Lin Yi was the disciple of Boss Bai of the 5 Elements sect. The 5 Elements sect had split into 2 factions. One faction was led by Ancestor Mysterious Heaven, while the other was led by Ancestor Xianqian. No wonder Kong Mingming wanted to kill Lin Yi, and said that he couldn't do it himself. It turned out that they were from the same sect. Thinking of this, Torta felt a headache. After all, the Bubbly clan had a good relationship with the Five Elements sect. It was true that Kong Ming Ming was from the Five Elements sect, but Lin Yi in front of him was also from the Five Elements sect. To kill Lin Yi for Kong Ming Ming was obviously to get involved in the internal conflict of the Five Elements sect. But Torta thought of Kong Ming Ming's promise before, and then remembered that Ancestor Mysterious Heaven had been abolished. Torta also made a decision. As far as I've heard, Ancestor Mysterious Heaven has been abolished? Why is he still the sect leader? Torta asked calmly. Lin Yi was stunned. He didn't expect Torta to know that Boss Bai had been abolished. This made Lin Yi frown slightly, but he still said, "Yes, but my master is still the sect leader." "Oh, is that so? Then you can go to hell." Torta launched an attack without any warning. He threw a punch at Lin Yi, who was in the car. Udake was also startled by this sudden attack. However, he subconsciously stepped on the accelerator. The car had not yet turned off, so the Jeep Cherokee suddenly rushed out. But even so, Lin Yi was still hit by Tortu's fist wind, and his shoulder was hit. However, the previous part of the attack was Lin Yi's head. If it weren't for Udake's prompt decision, Lin Yi would have been seriously injured at this moment. He wouldn't die because Lin Yi also used True Qi to protect his body, and he also had the defense bonus of the Essence Qi necklace, so he didn't worry about being killed. But the key was how to deal with the seriously injured Lin Yi. Lin Yi suddenly opened the door and jumped out of the car. Taking advantage of Tortu's shock, he ran the mantra, and suddenly urged the 11th style of the Raging Fire 8 trigrams palm. Previously, when attacking Old Master Gu, Lin Yi's 11th style of the Raging Fire 8 trigrams palm didn't have the attack bonus of the Essence Qi necklace, so this time the 11th style of the Raging Fire 8 trigrams palm was naturally more powerful. Boom! Tortu was directly hit by Lin Yi's attack and flew out. In fact, Tortu was very confident in his strength, and he felt that he could definitely kill Lin Yi with one punch. If a master at the peak of the late stage of Heaven stage couldn't kill a master at the middle stage of Heaven stage with one punch, then there was no need to live. Of course, common sense was like this, but Lin Yi couldn't be judged by common sense. Tortu naturally didn't think that Lin Yi had the defense bonus of the Essence Qi necklace, and the quick healing of the 3rd level of the Art of Dragon Mastery. He also didn't think that Udake would suddenly drive, and the short moment of shock also caused irreparable damage. Caught off guard, Tortu was hit by Lin Yi. Although it didn't kill Tortu, Tortu's meridians were broken, and he suffered very serious internal injuries. Tortu's eyes flashed with incredible shock and resentment. He didn't expect to go for wool and come home shorn. He wanted to please Kong Ming Ming by killing Lin Yi in exchange for a chance for his father to recover. But he didn't expect that not only was Lin Yi not killed, but he was also crippled by Lin Yi, becoming a useless person like his father. This was not worth it. If Lin Yi ran away at this time, then Tortu would really suffer a double loss. He wouldn't get any benefits at all. Without leaving Lin Yi, Tortu didn't believe that Kong Ming Ming would keep his promise. Therefore, Tortu had no choice but to activate the Bubbly clan's mechanism to resist the invasion of foreign enemies. An ancient clan might have some means of retreat left behind to resist the invasion of foreign enemies, and the Paoli clan happened to be in this situation. In front of the Paoli clan city gate, there was a trap mechanism. As long as it was activated, the people above the trap would instantly fall into the trap. Chapter 3344. Lin Yi didn't understand why the Bubbly clan attacked him right away. Was there a problem? Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't want to become enemies with the Bubbly clan for Xin Yan's sake. So he only injured the Bubbly clan member in front of him and didn't pursue and kill him. He wanted to leave some leeway. After all, even if this person was crippled, even if he was lying on the bed in a vegetative state, Lin Yi could use the Art of Dragon Mastery to heal him. But if he died, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to save him. So Lin Yi wanted to leave this place first and think of a way to negotiate with the Bubbly clan. After all, this wasn't the time to negotiate. If the others from the Bubbly clan came out and saw that Lin Yi injured their clansman, they'd definitely gang up on him. At that time, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to explain even if he wanted to. It was better to wait for both sides to calm down first. But what Lin Yi didn't expect was that as soon as he got in the car, he heard a loud rumble. The ground suddenly split open, and their car rolled down the crack. At this time, Linny wanted to take measures and fly out of the car. After all, Linny was a sky class master. But if Linny ran, what would happen to Xiaoka and Udake? The two of them couldn't escape. So Linny sat in the car and planned to see what would happen next with them. The cracks opened quickly and closed quickly as well. The car hadn't even reached the bottom when the cracks closed again, and the space below them became dark all of a sudden. Ah! Xiaoka screamed in fright, subconsciously grabbing onto the seatbelt. Udake was more courageous, but his expression was very solemn. He didn't know what they would encounter next, and he didn't know what they would face next. On the other hand, Linny was as calm as ever. He had already closed his eyes and used the Jade's sensing ability to check the bottom of the crack. There wasn't anything dangerous at the bottom of the crack, only a pool. If the car fell into the pool, they wouldn't be in too much danger. Perhaps the purpose of this mechanism wasn't to kill them, but to imprison them. As long as these people were imprisoned here, wouldn't they be at the mercy of the Bubbly clan? Linny was probably right. There were cliffs all around the fissure, just like the ones in the Five Fiends mountain range. There was no foothold at all, and even a sky-class late-phase peak complete master wouldn't be able to climb up from this height. Besides, so what if they went up? The crack above had already closed. Even if they could jump that high, they wouldn't be able to break out of the ground, right? Even if you had the strength of a peak late-stage sky-class master, and the martial technique of a peak late-stage sky-class master was very powerful, but you'd already used the chant to jump so high into the air. After jumping up, you wouldn't have enough time to activate the technique, not to mention that the technique wouldn't be able to penetrate such a thick ground. Don't worry, there's a pool down there. We won't die. Linny said lightly. How did you know? Xiaoka was startled. I saw it. Linny said. Saw it? That's impossible, right? I saw it too, but I couldn't see the bottom. How did you see it? Xiaoka didn't really believe it. Haha. Linny smiled and didn't explain. After all, this kind of thing was hard to explain, so he might as well pretend to be mysterious. However, following Linny's laughter, a plop sound was heard, and the car fell into the pool. This proved Linny's words. Xiaoka and Udake were a little shocked. They didn't think that Linny would have such an accurate judgment in this kind of situation. It was too amazing. Let's go. Linny opened the door and jumped down. To be honest, Linny could walk in the dark like it was flat ground, but Udake and Xiaoka couldn't. Udake quickly turned on the headlights and climbed down with Xiaoka. The pool wasn't too deep, and the car slowly sank to the bottom. However, the light from the headlights was still very clear. This car was specially modified by Feng Qianlong's secret investigation department, so even if it was flooded, the electrical system wouldn't be damaged for a while, so the headlights were still on. Phew. Mr. Lin, you're really amazing. You were able to determine the terrain so quickly. We're here, what should we do? Udake felt that following Linny gave him confidence. Even if they fell into the abyss, he wasn't too worried. This place is so big, let's walk around? I don't know yet. Look over there. Linny pointed at a sign not far away. The headlights shone on the sign. Udake and Xiaoka raised their heads subconsciously, and were shocked. There was a warning written on the sign in many languages. Danger ahead, there is only one way out. Don't wander around, or else you'll have to bear the consequences. Near the sign there were 5 paths. They didn't know which one was right and which one was wrong. Ugh! Udake was speechless. He didn't expect this place to be so complicated. There were actually other hidden paths. Xiaoka was shocked as well, but she was a thief after all. She was very calm. If I'm not wrong, there's one path that leads to the Paoli clan's castle. It's their own path, and the others are all dead ends. We're trapped here, and we can either die or wait for them to send people over. This is quite similar to some ancient tombs. Then, should we wait here or? Udake heard Xiaoka's words and asked uncertainly. I think that the Paoli clan wants to kill us. That's not right. Could it be that House Gu told them to wait here and kill us? Linny was also very curious. Why did the Paoli clan want to kill them right away? They didn't even meet each other before. And they didn't have any grudges against each other. Why would they want to kill them? Chapter 33:45. Then Linny really couldn't think of the rest of the reasons. I don't know for now, let's go forward and take a look. Staying here isn't a good idea. Linny said as he walked towards the sign. Oh, okay. Udake didn't know why, but he trusted Linny a lot. So when Linny left, he didn't think much and followed. Yuxiaoka, on the other hand, panicked when she saw Linny walking forward. Linny, what are you doing? If you want to die, don't drag us down with you. There's only one path in here. And even the people from the Flying Sparrow sect can't say which is the right one. Don't go around randomly. Some of the secret paths in the tomb were dangerous, but most of them had a pattern to them, and there was no pattern to them at all. The Pauli family built this place themselves, and there were no patterns at all. All 5 paths were the same, and there were no signs or signs. Like this, Yuxiaoka couldn't tell which one was the right one at all. That means your skill level is too low. Linny said faintly, I told you before, don't try to show off with your mediocre skills. If it weren't for your brother, I wouldn't have brought you to this dangerous place. Yuxiaoka paused and frowned. Lin Yi's words gave her a strange feeling. This dark place was very similar to the tomb, and Yuxiaoka had a feeling that the person talking in front of her wasn't Lin Yi, but the male thief. She didn't know why she had this feeling, but at that moment, Lin Yi's voice and the way Lin Yi spoke made her think of the male thief. But when Yuxiaoka wanted to calm down and think about it, Lin Yi had already chosen a path, and she didn't have time to think. Seeing that her brother had already gone in, Yuxiaoka had no choice but to bite her teeth and follow. In fact, Udake was really thinking too much. At this time, Gu's son had already led the Gu family to escape to the remote mountainous area. Although they wanted to take revenge in their hearts, they also knew that with their strength, it was impossible to take revenge. However, halfway there, Gu's son's phone suddenly rang. He had a satellite phone, so he didn't have to worry about the signal. After hesitating for a moment, Gu's son picked up the phone. He didn't know who was calling. Hello, I'm Gu Zixian. Little Gu, it's me. The voice of the Xianqian ancestor sounded. So the Xianqian ancestor was the master of House Gu. Master, hello? Gu Zixian jumped and wanted to hang up, but he didn't dare. My 2 people went to your place, right? Take good care of them. When they come back, they will go to your place again, said the Xianqian ancestor. When Gu Zixian heard that Kong Mingming and the others would go to his place when they came back, he didn't know what to say. He was already on the run, why would he go and live there? What's wrong? Did something happen? How shrewd was the Xianqian ancestor? Hearing Gu Zixian's hesitation, he immediately felt that something was wrong. Gu Zixian was a coward to begin with. After being scared by the Xianqian ancestor's stern voice, he almost peed his pants. After many years of accumulated power, he couldn't care about anything else. He told the Xianqian ancestor what happened, and then said, Master, you have to avenge our Gu family. Our Gu family has been at your beck and call for so many years. Now that my father was killed, you can't just ignore it. Do you think you can send someone over? At this point, Gu Zixian couldn't care less. He thought that if the Xianqian ancestor could help him take revenge, that would be the best. What? When Patriarch Xianqian heard that, he realized that the person driving the Jeep Cherokee with the person surnamed Yu was Lin Yi. When he heard up to here, Ancestor Dark Earth couldn't help but be angered to the point of wanting to curse. Damn it! If I could kill Lin Yi, I would have died a long time ago. Would there be a need for the Bubbly clan to make a move against me? Thinking of this, Patriarch Xianqian said angrily, If you can't take revenge, run. If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. With that, Patriarch Xianqian hung up the phone and ignored Sun Gu. In his eyes, he was just an abandoned chess piece. Who cared if they lived or died? Hello? Master? Hello? Moses. Gu's son held the phone, his face full of despair. Tortu was seriously injured, but he was still a peak late-stage heaven rank master, so he wouldn't lose the ability to move. Although he was in a bad mood, he still forced himself to enter the castle and arrived in front of his father, Thor Ryu. Tortu, what happened to you? Are you injured? Thor Ryu was shocked when he saw Tortu's appearance and quickly asked, Father, I'm crippled just like you. Tortu had already checked his meridians before. He knew that he had become a cripple like his father. What's going on? What the hell happened? Thor Ryu was shocked. He suddenly stood up and asked, It's that person called Lin Yi. I didn't expect him to be a middle-stage heaven rank master. Not only could he dodge my attack, but he could also counterattack and seriously injure me. Torta was very depressed. He tried to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice used to lure it. What? That Linny is so powerful? Thor Ryu's face was very gloomy after hearing this. He looked at Kong Ming Ming and Little E angrily. Kong Ming Ming wasn't worried about Tortu's life or death. He was worried about whether Linny was dead or not. So he sighed and said, I've said it before, this person can fight above his rank. His strength is very great. What about you? You only sent one person to kill him? Who can you blame? This. Thor Ri and you heard Kong Xiaoming's words and paused for a moment. They were speechless. Yes, Kong Xiaoming had said it before. This person could fight above his level, and he told them to be careful. It's not that I didn't tell you, it's that you didn't care at all. Tortu, what the hell is going on? Is there some hidden story behind this? Thor Ryu asked in a deep voice after entering the door. He was in a very bad mood at the moment. His injury hasn't healed yet. Instead, Tortu became crippled. This is really an unlucky year. Father, this matter, we really shouldn't be involved. Tortu sighed helplessly and said, Do you know who Kong Ming Ming wants to kill? Chapter 3346. 5 Elements Sect's Old Ancestor Profound Heaven's Disciple. Tortu said and told Thor Moon about what happened before. Bastard! This Kong Xiaoming actually dared to play us like this. He even implicated our Paoli clan in the grievances of their sects. Thor Ryu roared in anger. Father, this matter really can't be blamed on Kong Ming Ming. Although he is hateful, we agreed to it, it's a deal. If we don't want to, how can Kong Xiaoming order us around? Torta shook his head and said with a bitter smile. Now we have no way out. We can only go all the way. If we cancel this deal now, not only will I be injured for nothing, but you will also have no hope of recovering from your injuries. But, using your injuries to exchange for a top-grade great returning pill, this business. Thor Ryu's expression was very ugly. No matter how he looked at it, this business was not worthwhile. What can we do? Tortu also has no other way. Who would have thought that the disciple of profound heaven's old ancestor is so strong that he can fight against an enemy of a higher rank? No, it's too much of a loss, it's too much of a loss. I have to talk to Kong Ming Ming about this matter. Thor Moon has already made a decision in his heart. Father, you mean? Tortu's heart skipped a beat and he quickly asked. Kong Ming Ming played us, he didn't tell us the secret behind this. Don't think that it's so easy. Thor Moon stood up and strode out of Tortu's room and went straight to the guest room where Kong Ming Ming was resting. Kong Ming Ming and Little One returned to the room. He was excited about his success in angering the Bubbly clan and making them become enemies with Lin Yi. He didn't expect that Thor Moon would come to his door. Old Patriarch, why are you here again? Kong Ming Ming heard a knock on the door. He opened the door and was stunned. Kong Ming Ming, you are playing a good trick. As soon as Thor Ryu entered the room, he sneered and said, You are toying with our Bubbly clan. This, old master, what do you mean? Kong Xiaoming's heart skipped a beat. Did this old thing know something? That Lin Yi is clearly Patriarch Profound Heaven's disciple, and also a member of your 5 Elements sect. This is a conflict between your 5 Elements sect, so why didn't you say anything? Do you want to kill me with a borrowed knife? Thor Moon sneered. So it's about this matter. When Kong Ming Ming heard this, he felt relieved. He smiled indifferently and said, Old master, you are right. I just want to kill with a borrowed knife. What do you mean? Thor Ryu's eyes flashed with flames as he said angrily. I don't mean anything. Didn't we come to an agreement before? This is just a deal. It's not convenient for me to take action, so I want you to help me get rid of this person. This is killing with a borrowed knife, so there's no problem. Kong Ming Ming said matter-of-factly. Of course, as for why I didn't tell you, I don't think I need to tell you, right? This is an internal conflict of our sect. Besides, Patriarch Profound Heaven has stepped down, and my master Patriarch Profound Earth has taken over the 5 Elements sect. I also told you about this matter, but you didn't ask about it in detail. My purpose is very simple. I want to kill Lin Yi. Don't worry about who Lin Yi is, kill him, and I will give you a top-grade 4th-grade Great Restore pill. You. Thor Ryu wasn't as eloquent as Kong Ming Ming, but what Kong Ming Ming said was the truth, so he really couldn't refute it. What Kong Mingming said was also right. You didn't ask about it in detail, so why are you blaming him for not telling? Moreover, even if he didn't say it, why did you make this deal? Blinded by greed. Thor Ryu regretted it a little. Paoli clan was a very neutral clan. They didn't have any enmity with any sect. But now, they were involved in the internal dispute of the Five Elements sect. Okay, but my son Tortu was crippled in order to help you kill Lin Yi. You have to give me an explanation for his injury, right? I will give you another top-grade 4th-grade Great Restore pill, how about it? Thor Ryu made such a scene in order to fight for benefits for himself. Since he couldn't refute it, he directly stated his purpose. This is my bottom line. Old Patriarch, it's not that I, Kong Mingming, don't be unreasonable. A deal is a deal. This is a deal. I can't just say that if you get injured, I will give you a top-grade Great Restore pill, right? If you get injured again in a few days, do I have to give you 3 top-grade Great Restore pills? Kong Mingming naturally wouldn't agree to it. Although it was impossible to refine a 4th-grade pill, it wasn't absolutely impossible. If Ancestor Xianzhen succeeded in the future, he would owe a lot of debts. How could a 4th-grade pill be so easy to refine? Moreover, Kong Xiaoming also had his own considerations. If he agreed to Thor Ryu's request right away, then it would be a bit fake. Thor Ryu knew how precious a 4th-level medicinal pill was. If Kong Xiaoming agreed without even blinking, then he would really suspect that Kong Xiaoming was bragging to him. Of course, I definitely won't do it in the future. These two are my bottom line. Seeing Kong Xiaoming's attitude, Thor Ryu felt at ease. Just like what Kong Xiaoming had thought before, if he agreed immediately, Thor Ryu would definitely think that Five Elements sect couldn't refine a 4th-grade medicinal pill, so he would start making random promises. Old Patriarch, this is a fair transaction. It's done with the approval of both you and me. If anyone casually changes the conditions of our Five Elements sect in the future, what will we do in the future? Kong Mingming also cared about the face of Five Elements sect. Good, since that's the case, then I will trade with someone else. That Lin Yi is still in our Soakingli clan's dungeon. Since his master is Ancestor Xianzhen, maybe he is also proficient in alchemy. If I go and trade with him, I'm afraid he will be happy to trade with me, right? Thor Ryu didn't expect Kong Mingming to be so tough. He thought that after he said all this, Kong Mingming would reluctantly agree. Who knew that Kong Mingming would be so tough? With no other choice, Thor Ryu could only bite the bullet and continue to tempt. But in his opinion, this shouldn't have much of an effect. After all, Tortu had said it himself, and Lin Yi had confirmed it himself. His master, Boss Bai, had been crippled, and was no longer the master of the Five Elements sect. Chapter 3347. The previous top-grade 4th-grade Great Recover pill was acquiesced by old Ancestor Xianzhen, but 2 of them was a bit different. Don't go looking for him. Kong Xiaoming was really shocked by what he heard. If Thor Ryu went to trade with Lin Yi, then what would happen to him? Although he knew that Lin Yi might not be able to refine a top-grade Great Recover pill, Lin Yi was a very special person. Lin Yi and his underlings had been crippled more than once or twice, right? But every time they were as good as before. There was no sign of them being crippled at all. This made Kong Mingming very surprised. Therefore, if Lin Yi really had a way to cure Lin Yi and Tortu's injuries, then Lin Yi would be the benefactor of the Bubbly clan. The Bubbly clan couldn't even protect him, let alone kill him? Obviously it was impossible. Oh, Thor Ryu said it casually, but Kong Mingming's answer made his heart move. However, he was old and shrewd. On the surface, he didn't show anything wrong at all. He just looked at Kong Mingming with a smile and said, "So Mr. Kong has promised me? It's not impossible to consider." Kong Mingming quickly said, "The main thing is that I'm afraid that you will go to Lin Yi and get killed by him. You know that you don't have any strength now. If something happens to you, then who will I look for to trade with?" Kong Mingming also found that he was a little anxious, but he could not be anxious. If he didn't stop Thor Ryu now, then it would be too late when Thor Ryu went to look for Lin Yi. So Mr. Kong has agreed? Thor Ryu also addressed Kong Xiaoming as Mr. Kong, but it was just a perfunctory greeting. How could he not tell that something was wrong? Is he afraid that I will die? Was Kong Mingming that kind? If he was really that kind-hearted, he would have persuaded Tortu not to fight alone from the start. There shouldn't be a problem. I'll go talk to father-in-law. Kong Mingming couldn't agree before, but now he was afraid that Thor Ryu would look for Lin Yi, so he had no choice but to agree. He believed that Patriarch Xianchen wouldn't say anything if he knew. Alright, then I'll go back first. If there's any news from Mr. Kong, call the patrolling disciples to inform me at any time. Thor Rimoon said. Okay, I'll call father-in-law now. Kong Mingming said quickly. After Thor Ryu left, Little Yi frowned slightly. Junior apprentice brother Kong, this old thing is insatiably greedy. If you rashly agree to him, master. If I don't agree, he'll go to Lin Yi. That'll be even worse. Kong Mingming waved his hand helplessly and said, Let's call father-in-law. You're right. Little Yi nodded. Kong Mingming picked up his mobile phone and dialed Patriarch Xuanchen's number directly. He hadn't reported the progress of the matter to Patriarch Xianchen yet when Thor Ryu came to find him. Xiaoming, how is it? Is it settled? Patriarch Xianchen asked after picking up the phone. Father-in-law, things are going well, but there's some trouble. As he spoke, Kong Mingming told Patriarch Xianchen about Tortu's injury, and Thor Ryu coming to find him. Your starting point is good. After Patriarch Xianchen listened, he pondered for a moment and said, Let Tortu get injured, thereby increasing the hatred between the Paoli clan and Lin Yi. This is not a problem. This move is very insidious, but Thor Ryu is not a good person. He actually used this to raise the bargaining chip. However, there's nothing wrong with you agreeing to him. If he really goes to Lin Yi, things will be troublesome. Patriarch Xuanchen's thoughts weren't as simple as Kong Mingming's. He thought that if Thor Ryu went to look for Lin Yi, he wouldn't cooperate with Kong Mingming. He thought that if he really went to look for Lin Yi, not only would he not cooperate, but what if he turned against him? Then I'll agree to Thor Ryu's request? Kong Mingming asked. And you can agree to this? Patriarch Xianchen sighed. At that time, although we don't have to repay these two debts for the time being, they will still be our 5 elements sex debts in the future. But in order to deal with Lin Yi, it's worth it. Okay, then I'll give him a reply. Kong Mingming nodded, hung up the phone and opened the door. He called a Paoli clan disciple who was patrolling not far away, and asked him to pass on his reply to Thor Ryu. Shortly after Thor Ryu returned to his room, he received a reply from Kong Mingming brought by his disciple. This didn't strengthen his confidence in cooperating with Kong Mingming, but instead made him even more suspicious. Kong Xiaoming could just take it and put it on a shelf. How could something easily obtained be good? But Kong Mingming gave him a reply in a hurry. He couldn't even wait for dinner time. What did this mean? It meant that Kong Mingming was afraid that he would look for Lin Yi to cooperate with him. Could it be that Lin Yi had something to surprise him? Thinking of this, Thor Ryu felt that he shouldn't be in a hurry to kill Lin Yi. Instead, he should do more investigation on this matter. Thinking of this, Thor Ryu waved his hand, and an old housekeeper immediately stood in front of Thor Ryu. Patriarch, what can I do for you? Who is in charge of the news from the Central Plains? Thor Ryu asked. It's the young master's people. The old housekeeper said quickly. Oh, call Thor Long to see me. Thor Ryu said. Yes, Patriarch. The old housekeeper nodded quickly and left the room. After a while, a strong man who looked very similar to Tortu walked into the room and said respectfully, Father, you asked me to come? Immediately inquire about the news from the Central Plains. Inquire about a person named Lin Yi. Gather all the information about him. It's best to gather all the information related to him. I need it urgently. Thor Ryu said. Thor Long was stunned, then asked strangely, Father, isn't this person the one who injured third brother? Why are you investigating him? Could it be that this person has a strong background? Can't we just kill him? I have my reasons for investigating him. Also, pass down the order to all the people in the Paoli clan. Without my order, no one is allowed to touch Lin Yi. Thor Ryu's face turned solemn, then said solemnly, All right, Thor Long, go and investigate. Hurry up and give me the results. Chapter 3348. In that underground mechanism, Lin Yi and the others had been locked in there for 10 hours. Lin Yi knew that this wasn't the way to go. He didn't know what the Bubbly clan intended to do, but he was sure that if they wanted to look for him, then they would have probably come into contact with him a long time ago. Since no one had come after so long, Then they probably intended to starve him to death here. Of course, Lin Yi's guess wasn't wrong. That was what Tortu and Toriu had planned. But after Toriu contacted Kong Ming, he changed his original intention and started investigating Lin Yi. But was it really that easy for a foreign clan to investigate the Central Plains? It wasn't possible. So, not long after Lin Yi came in, he decisively brought Yu Dake and Yu Xiaoke forward, trying to find out. At first, Yu Xiaoke was a little doubtful. After all, the words at the entrance were too scary. It was 4 deaths and 1 life. It wasn't as scary as 9 deaths and 1 life, but 1 wrong step and they'd be doomed. But Lin Yi walked forward with certainty, and his brother Yu Dake followed firmly. Yu Xiaoke couldn't do anything about it. She couldn't stay by herself, could she? So she could only bite the bullet and follow. But after walking for a while, Yu Xiaoke was a little puzzled. The path they were walking on wasn't a straight path, but there were 5 forks in the road, and the words were also 4 deaths and 1 life. But Lin Yi didn't seem to have the time to judge at all. He just walked around randomly and entered one of them. This made Yu Xiaoke very confused. You just walked around and you knew which way to go? That was obviously impossible. Did you think you were a prophet, a master of those ancient traps? You'd need half a day to judge, right? Plus, these 5 paths were exactly the same. There was no pattern to follow, so how did Lin Yi go? But to say that Lin Yi was lucky wasn't the case, because Lin Yi didn't always go the same way. Sometimes he went the right, sometimes he went the left, and sometimes he went the middle. Wait. When they came to the next intersection, Xiaoke couldn't take it anymore. Lin Yi, are you walking around randomly? Can you really tell which path is the correct one? Lin Yi stopped. He knew what he was doing. It was a little suspicious. After all, he relied on the jade pendant's sense of danger to make a judgment. He walked in front of the 5 passages and knew which was dangerous and which was not. But these things, he couldn't tell Yu Dake and Yu Xiaoke either. If it was any other time, Lin Yi might have pretended to look around, but today Lin Yi really didn't have the mood to do so, because the food they brought along on the way had been eaten. They had also calculated the approximate distance before heading to the Bubble Leaf clan. They came from afar to do business, and the Bubble Leaf clan had to take care of their food and lodging, right? But now there was an accident and they didn't have any rations. Lin Yi didn't mind, but Yu Dake and Yu Xiaoke had to eat. They could cultivate, but in this prison, the qi they absorbed was far from enough to make up for the qi they used up. Not bad. Lin Yi nodded. This wasn't his only special ability anyway. The ones that helped people increase their strength and heal injuries were even stronger. In comparison, his judgment of danger wasn't that obvious. Are you walking around randomly? Is there really danger here? Are you trying to scare us? Xiaoke didn't like Lin Yi. She thought that Lin Yi was showing off in front of her, thinking that Lin Yi knew that she came from a thief sect, and was purposely suppressing her in what he was good at so that she would admire him. One had to say Xiaoke's thoughts were a little too much. Walking around randomly? Lin Yi frowned. What are you trying to say? I can walk around like this. Don't think that I'll admire you just because you're acting. Xiaoke humphed. That's impossible. I know what you've sensed, but you're just faking it. The person I like is much better than you, able to make decisions even in a dangerous tomb. You can't compare to him. Lin Yi didn't know what to say, but Xiaoke snorted. Lin Yi was speechless. What was she thinking at this time? Xiaoke, what are you trying to say? It's nothing. You guys come with me, I can go too. Xiaoke said as she stepped into one of the tunnels. Xiaoke, don't be stubborn. Yu Dake was startled, but his words were too slow. As soon as Xiaoke stepped into the tunnel, arrows flew towards her. Lin Yi was infuriated. What time was this? You like the male thief, but you can't use your life to belittle Lin Yi, can you? Thanks to Lin Yi's strength, he was a sky-class mid-phase and he was very nimble. He lifted his hand and pulled Xiaoke out of the passageway. However, in order to not let Xiaoke get hit by the arrows, he didn't dare to dodge, and an arrow still pierced a hole in his arm. Although there were no headlights here, there was a luminous pearl at the entrance of each mechanism, and there was still some weak light. Lin Yi looked at his wound. Luckily, the color of the blood was normal, and the arrow shouldn't be poisonous. Xiaoke, are you done being crazy? Lin Yi used to give in to her because he liked her, and he was touched by her dedication to the orphanage, but now he didn't think that Xiaoke would let her emotions affect her decisions. Xiaoke was scared out of her wits. She thought that all the tunnels were safe, and it didn't matter which one Linny went to. She was just pretending, but now she finally understood how stupid she was. Xiaoka's heart was palpitated. If it wasn't for Linny, she really would have been killed by the arrow. Looking at the arrows scattered on the ground near the entrance, Xiaoka felt a lingering fear. Chapter 3349. Xiaoka didn't think that Linny would be this angry. She was in the wrong and she was scared, so she didn't dare to refute when Linny scolded her. Alright. Udake, hold on to Xiaoka. Don't let her wander around. We need to find a way to leave this place first. Linny was panicking. Scolding Xiaoka was one thing, but now he was worried about the Bubbly clan's attitude. Right now, the Bubbly clan was obviously very unfriendly towards them, so Linny didn't know what they would do next after locking them up here. It was better to leave this place first. Alright, Mr. Lin, don't be angry. I'll look after her and don't let her wander around. Udake was sweating profusely. If it wasn't for Lin Yi's strength, he would have lost his sister. Linny nodded and walked towards the path Xiaoka had just taken. This time there wasn't any danger, and this surprised Xiaoka. It seemed like Linny wasn't wandering around randomly, and the 4 out of 4 deaths in one life was real. It wasn't a lie. Xiaoka was silent this time. She was silently pulled by Dake as they walked forward. But to be honest, Xiaoka's heart was still quite sad. Identifying the traps in the tomb was Xiaoka's forte, and she rarely admired anyone in this area. The only person she admired was the male thief in the tomb. But Linny had this ability now. To be honest, if she didn't look at Linny with colored glasses, there really wasn't much difference between Linny and the male thief, right? Both of them were so strong, and they supported the orphanage. If the first person she met was Linny, then now, Xiaoka was shocked at the thought. She didn't think that Linny would be so outstanding in her heart. Perhaps it was because of Linny's excellence that Xiaoka's heart became more and more chaotic, and that was why she acted so rashly earlier. Because she didn't want Linny to replace the male thief in her heart. He was irreplaceable. In a trance, Xiaoka seemed to have returned to the time in the tomb. Remembering how the male thief saved her from the brink of death, No. Xiaoka shuddered and stopped her footsteps abruptly. Her eyes flashed with disbelief. Remembering what Linny said when they fell into the trap, Xiaoka's heart almost jumped out of her mouth. Xiaoka didn't want to leave and Udake stopped as well. He was about to ask her what was wrong when she blurted out. Male thief, wait a second. Linny was thinking about the Bubbly clan, and it could be said that this trip was a complete failure. Even if he could escape this trap, it was still a failure. After all, his goal was to trade with the Bubbly clan, and now it seemed like there wasn't much hope. At this moment, Xiaoka asked him to wait, and Linny frowned subconsciously, stopping his steps. What's wrong now? You're really the male thief? Xiaoka's eyes widened in disbelief. She didn't think that Linny would actually agree to her request. Linny paused, remembering that his words seemed to be admitting his identity. But Linny was really pissed. Plus, he was the same person as the male thief, and they were both facing Xiaoka in this dark environment. Linny subconsciously thought that he was the same person, but Xiaoka saw through it. You're thinking too much. Xiaoka frowned. Could it be that she was thinking too much? She saw the male thief's real face at the Cultivator Trade Association. He looked different from Linny, but how did Linny know about the tomb? Plus, Xiaoka didn't like Linny at first, but now that she listened carefully, his voice was really similar to the male thief. Xiaoka didn't think much about it before, but today she really felt that Linny and the male thief were the same person. But Xiaoka thought that Linny was very suspicious, and so she asked, You're not the male thief, so why are you helping me? I like you, so I'm helping you. Linny wanted to find a chance to tell Xiaoka the truth, but he didn't want it to be in this environment. He didn't even know if he could leave this place, and Linny didn't want to waste time. Like me? Xiaoka thought about it and turned to her brother Udake. Bro, when you went to Linny's house, did you see any pets? Pets? Udake was confused by Xiaoka and Linny as well. How did Linny become the male thief? He paused when Xiaoka asked. I don't know about pets, but how many spirit beasts does he have? Spirit beasts? What kind of spirit beast? Xiaoka's eyes brightened and quickly asked. It's just a purple lightning beast, a dog and a pig. The purple lightning beast was something he got from the Hidden House Summit, and Udake went to check it out on his way here. He saw General Weiwu and the pig as well. Linny heard Dake's answer and knew it was bad. When Xiaoke left the tomb, she swore that she would find him based on these two characteristics. And now, he couldn't deny it even if he wanted to, right? That piglet, does it only know how to squeak? Xiaoke's body shook as she asked subconsciously. Yeah. Dake nodded. I think it's called Skybolt Pig or something. Fuck. Xiaoke ran over and pulled Linny back, turning him around. You're playing with me, aren't you? Xiaoke had been looking for a master with a dog and a pig, but it wasn't easy to find them. She didn't like Lin Yi, and she almost never went to Lin Yi's house. Naturally, she didn't know that Lin Yi had General Weiwu and Skybolt Pig. Now that her brother Dake had confirmed Lin Yi's identity, Xiaoke was both happy and embarrassed at the same time. She felt like she was played by Lin Yi. Look, you like the male thief but you hate my original identity. I'm afraid that you won't like me anymore if I tell you. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He couldn't deny it even if he wanted to. The dog proof and the pig proof were all there. Chapter 3350. The struggle she'd been suppressing in her heart for a long time was solved in an instant. She felt very blessed. Lin Yi liked her, and he was the male thief she liked. There was a time when she didn't know what to do with this problem, but now she had the urge to bite Lin Yi to death. Why didn't you say so earlier? Haha. Okay, let's leave this place first. Lin Yi was a little embarrassed. Luckily they were here and the light was very dim. No one saw Lin Yi's expression. Okay. Xiaoke instantly turned into a good girl and replied softly. Dake was shocked. He didn't think that his sister would get together with Lin Yi just like that. Weren't they at odds with each other? Could it be that Lin Yi was really the male thief his sister liked? That would be amazing. Right, why weren't you like this before? Xiaoke suddenly remembered a very important question. Was I like this before? Lin Yi took out the 1,000 silk mask from the jade space and put it on. The three of them walked to the next fork, and the light shone on Lin Yi's face. Ah! Xiaoke jumped in fright and looked at Lin Yi in shock. You can change your face. Oh. Lin Yi was a little speechless. Xiaoke was making a big deal out of nothing, wasn't she? He took off the 1,000 silk mask and said, It's just a mask. Are you trying to scare me to death? Okay, let's get out of here first. Okay. Xiaoke was 100% sure that Lin Yi was the male thief now. Her grip on Lin Yi's arm tightened. After a few more crossroads, Lin Yi suddenly stopped. They had passed through the last passageway. It could be considered the last passageway. After this passage there were no more forks in the road. Instead there was a huge hall. However, the hall wasn't empty. On one side of the hall, there were small stones piled up densely. The small stones piled up like a mountain, and even Lin Yi couldn't see the end of it. This place was like a huge basement. On the other side of the hall was a wall. There was nothing, and on the last side there was a door on the wall. No one knew where it led to. What is this place? Xiaoke was surprised. Yeah, the heaven and earth spiritual qi here is so abundant. It's a good place to cultivate. Dake said in surprise. Lin Yi was dumbstruck as he stared at the dense pile of small stones, and he was speechless. Because those were white energy stones. This is... Dake said. Following Lin Yi's gaze, he saw the large amount of energy stones. At this moment, Dake was also extremely excited. Mr. Lin, aren't these the energy stones we need? There were actually so many of them. We're rich. We actually found the Bubbly Clan's energy stone storage room. Was this really the Bubbly Clan's energy stone storage room? Lin Yi didn't quite believe it. Putting the dungeon and the storage room together. This was a very stupid action. Although the dungeon's passageway was full of danger, it was impossible for ordinary people to reach here smoothly. Normal people wouldn't be able to reach here smoothly, but that didn't mean that there were special people like Lin Yi. As far as Lin Yi was concerned, the Bubbly Clan wouldn't make such a stupid mistake, putting their treasure with the enemy. Even if the enemy couldn't come easily, wouldn't it be too much of a regret if they did? Even if the enemy didn't steal it, wouldn't it be too late for regrets if they destroyed it? However, he had no choice but to believe what he saw. Lin Yi took a deep breath and walked towards the large pile of energy stones with quick strides. However, when Lin Yi's footsteps stopped near the pile of energy stones, Lin Yi couldn't help but sigh in disappointment. Because these energy stones were actually used. The surface of the energy stones was dim and lusterless. With a glance, it was obvious that they were already out of energy. Such energy stones were utterly worthless. There were 2 more in Lin Yi's jade pendant space. This discovery caused Lin Yi to be extremely disappointed. On the other hand, Udake had obviously noticed this as well. Mr. Lin, these energy stones. You noticed as well? These energy stones are all used. I reckon that the Bubbly clan threw them here after using them. Aren't they afraid that the people locked in the dungeon would steal these energy stones? Lin Yi smiled bitterly and shrugged. He was wondering why the Bubbly clan would do this, but now it seemed like no one was stupid. These were all energy stones that had been used. Even if the enemy found them and stole them, it didn't matter. Yeah, I thought there was a great discovery. Udake shook his head and said, "Let's go over there and take a look? Perhaps there's some unused energy stones over there?" There shouldn't be any. Lin Yi didn't hold any hope in his heart. But since he'd come here, there was no harm in going over and taking a look. Yuxiaoka was originally very happy. She thought that she'd found what she was looking for. But after hearing the conversation between Lin Yi and Udake, she knew that it wasn't the case. The energy stones here were all useless. This made her extremely disappointed. Lin Yi walked in front while Udake and Yuxiaoka followed behind him. Even if Yuxiaoka was the weakest cultivator, her qigong was amazing, so the 3 of them were still very fast. Although these energy stones seemed to be endless, it only took them half an hour to walk to the end. Of course, this half an hour wasn't something that could be underestimated. The 3 of them had definitely walked over 100 kilometers. When they arrived at the end of the energy stones, Lin Yi bent down and looked at the energy stones in front of him. He couldn't help but let out a cry. "Mr. Lin, there's actually some energy in these energy stones. Although it's not a lot, it's definitely not the kind that's used up." Udake also noticed the abnormality and picked up an energy stone. Not used up and just left it here? Why? Lin Yi was a little puzzled. "Let's go to the center and take a look." Okay. Udake nodded. The 3 of them walked back a bit. The energy stones on the ground still had a trace of energy, and it wasn't just 1 or 2 of them. It was a common phenomenon. This made Lin Yi even more puzzled. What was the Bubbly clan doing? So wasteful? Although there wasn't a lot of energy, it was still quite useful when collected. Just throwing it in the innermost area like this, was there no use for it? Chapter 3351. But as they walked back, Lin Yi noticed another strange phenomenon, and that was the energy on the energy stones beneath their feet was getting lesser and lesser. Previously there was a bit of energy left, but now there was only a tiny bit left. As he continued forward, the energy in the energy stones became almost undetectable. What's going on? Lin Yi stopped his footsteps. There had to be something strange about this. Udake, did you notice something? Lin Yi asked. The energy in these energy stones is getting lesser and lesser. Udake said. Yes, the energy in these energy stones is getting lesser and lesser. Lin Yi nodded and said. What does this phenomenon represent? I thought before that the Bubbly clan had too many good things, and they were extravagant and wasteful, so they didn't finish using up the energy within them and threw them into this underground vault. But now it seems that the possibility of this isn't high. Yes, I thought so before as well. The energy stones in the innermost area were definitely thrown into the underground vault first. I guess that perhaps the ancestors of the Bubbly clan had more energy stones in their hands, and they had an endless supply, so they didn't use them so carefully. Udake said. But as we walked along the way, I realized that this idea of mine was rather childish. How could this be possible? The energy in these energy stones is getting lesser and lesser? I'm afraid that in order to achieve this, the Bubbly clan would be more troublesome than absorbing all the energy in the energy stones, right? Besides, isn't there something wrong with them doing this? Is it for fun? Oh, you're saying that the energy stones at the end of the vault were placed in here first? Lin Yi didn't care about what Udake said after that. He only cared about this sentence, and his eyes lit up slightly. I seem to have discovered some secret. Oh? What secret? Udake was shocked and asked hurriedly. The energy stones in the innermost area were placed here first. This inference shows that these energy stones have been placed in this vault for at least a few thousand years, right? Lin Yi said. Of course. With so many energy stones, I'm afraid that even a few thousand years isn't enough. Udake nodded. If I'm not mistaken, these energy stones should be able to absorb energy on their own, in other words, recharge. Linny made a bold conjecture. This vault is especially rich in heaven and earth spiritual energy. It's such a good place, but it hasn't been developed by the Paoli clan for cultivation. Instead, it's used to store energy stones. Why? I'm afraid they're planning to let these energy stones absorb the heaven and earth spiritual energy here, so that they can be reused someday in the future. Yeah. Udake slapped his thigh and exclaimed, Mr. Lin, I feel that this guess of yours isn't far from the mark. I'm afraid that's the case. Otherwise, there must be something wrong with the Paoli clan. Why would they leave so much trash in such a place with such abundant spiritual chi? Linny nodded. Of course, the abundance of heaven and earth spiritual energy here was relative. At least, Linny felt that it was far inferior to the space in his jade pendant. Wait, the space in his jade pendant. When he thought up to here, Linny was shocked, and he hurriedly withdrew the 2 energy stones he'd stored within the space in his jade pendant. Hiss! Linny couldn't help but gasp when he saw the energy stones in his hand, and he was shocked to the extreme, because these 2 energy stones were actually in a state of being filled with energy. It was even to the extent that it was even brighter than when Linny and Sun Jingyi discovered it in the Woolen Hate mountain range. At that time, Faubert had used up a lot of these energy stones, but now they were probably in a state of being filled to the brim. Energy stones could absorb energy within the space in his jade pendant. Lin Yi's guess from before wasn't wrong. The Paoli clan had placed the energy stones here for the sake of allowing them to absorb the heaven and earth spiritual energy. However, the heaven and earth spiritual energy here couldn't compare to the heaven and earth spiritual energy within Lin Yi's jade pendant, and it was truly a difference between the heavens and the earth. Mr. Lin, where did you get these energy stones? They're actually in a state of being filled with energy, and they're even more filled with energy than the energy stone I discovered that day. Wait, one of these? Why is it so similar to the energy stone I gave you that day? Udake was instantly stunned as he gazed at the energy stone in Lin Yi's hand. Haha. Linny chuckled, and his smile was filled with delight. Even though these energy stones that were placed in the basement didn't have any energy, Linny possessed the space in his jade pendant, and he was able to quickly recharge them with energy. In this way, there was really no need for Linny to do business with the Paoli clan. Linny was entirely capable of obtaining some of these discarded energy stones, and he could turn them into treasures after they were recharged. I used a special method to charge energy into them, but now it seems like they're naturally able to absorb energy by themselves. Oh, Udake wasn't surprised by Lin Yi's miraculous actions, and he didn't ask any further. He said instead, Then, we just have to obtain some of these discarded energy stones? But it should be very troublesome and difficult to recharge them, right? It can't be done in bulk, right? It's almost the same as upgrading someone's strength, Linny said vaguely. Of course, Linny wasn't lying to him. Whether it was upgrading someone's strength or recharging the energy stones, the jade pendant was required. However, Udake thought that Linny was manually circulating the mnemonic chant to recharge the energy stones. That would be troublesome enough, and there was no possibility of mass production, so he didn't ask any further. Then in any case, I'll first obtain some of these energy stones, and then we'll look for an exit, Linny said. Oh, okay, but we have limited pockets on us. We can't carry much, right? Udake asked hesitantly. Haha, you don't have to worry about that. I'll carry it myself. Linny smiled and began to walk forward, while collecting the energy stones into the jade pendant space. Linny didn't keep collecting in one place, but as he walked, 1 or 2 missing at every distance. It wasn't noticeable at all. However, Udake and Yushauka were dumbfounded. Where did Linny put the energy stones? Hey Linny, didn't you say that if I became your wife, you'd tell me where you put the things? Yushauka suddenly remembered what Linny said in the car, so she quickly asked. She had completely accepted Linny now. Linny was the male thief. What else could she not accept? So when she spoke to Linny, she didn't feel that there was anything wrong, and directly called herself his wife. Chapter 3352. Haha, I have a storage space on me, I can store some things. Linny smiled. But just keep it to yourselves, don't tell anyone else. Linny could trust Xiaoka and Dake. Of course this didn't mean much. With Linny's current strength, so what if people coveted him? There were more than one or two people who had their eyes on Lin Yi. Oh, I see. Xiaoka nodded, feeling curious. Then, can you get me one? What do you want it for? Lin Yi asked curiously. That way, when I become a thief, I can just hide in the space and not be afraid of being discovered. Xiaoka said. Oh. Lin Yi was speechless. No, you don't have enough money right now? It's enough. Xiaoka stuck her tongue out. The money Lin Yi gave her was enough to build the orphanage. She didn't need to steal anymore. She was just acting on her own accord. After filling up the storage space in the jade pendant, Lin Yi came to the exit of the passageway. In this hall, the only way to escape was through the door in front of him. The Paoli clan probably used this door to send the white energy stones into the hall. Lin Yi and the other two came to the door. It was a stone door that was sealed tightly. It was very similar to the ancient mechanisms in ancient tombs. There wasn't any mechanism to open it. Lin Yi frowned. He could go through the life and death tunnel, but this door in front of him was useless. After all, this wasn't what Lin Yi was good at. Flying Sparrow, how do you think we should open this door? Lin Yi turned to Xiaoka. Are you making fun of me? You're so strong, why would you need me? Xiaoka thought that Lin Yi was the male thief, and that he must have a way out. That's just a fake identity, helping Lingshan catch Old Hay and the other grave robbers. The real couple is long dead. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Do you really think I'm a male thief? Xiaoka paused, so the male thief was just a virtual person? She knew that Lin Yi wouldn't lie to her, but Lin Yi's words still disappointed her. As it turned out, Lin Yi was his real identity, and the male thief identity was just a fake one. Xiaoka actually hoped that Lin Yi's identity was fake, and the male thief was his real identity. But Xiaoka was someone who could handle storms and waves. She quickly adjusted her mentality. I see. But why were you so strong when you were in the path of life and death? Also, in the ancient tomb, your puzzle-solving ability is also very strong. What do you mean strong? It's just a sense of danger. I'm a refiner and my spirit is stronger. I can sense that. Lin Yi said. Whether it's the tomb or the path from before, the puzzles I solve are all life and death matters, but it's different. I really don't know how to open this door. Okay. Xiaoka nodded and started searching around the stone door. But evidently, the mechanism of the stone door was very intricate, and even Xiaoka wouldn't be able to find it in a short amount of time. Thor had some friends in the training world in the Central Plains, and while they weren't very important, it was still easy for him to get some information. Information on Lin Yi quickly reached Thor's hands. Looking at the small piece of paper, Thor couldn't be more shocked. This was Lin Yi's life? It was too shocking, too exciting. Thor didn't dare to delay and quickly passed the information to his father. Thor Ryu. Father, I have some progress on the matter you asked me to investigate. It's right here, please take a look, but this Lin Yi. What's wrong? Thor Ryu saw Thor's serious expression and quickly asked. Father, you should look at it yourself. This Lin Yi is a Sky Class Master, and he's only 19 this year. Torta said with a bitter smile. Although he looked young, he was actually 60 years old this year, but he broke through to Sky Class when he was 40, and he took good care of himself, so he didn't look that old. But this Lin Yi didn't just look young. He was really young. 19? Isn't that Kong Ming Ming only 19? Thor Ryu didn't take it to heart. In the cultivation world of the Central Plains, there are many capable people. This is a very normal thing. But Lin Yi is a Heaven Class Master, and Kong Ming Ming is a Heaven Class Master. One is an alchemist, the other is a cultivator. These are completely different concepts. Thor Long said. Most importantly, when Lin Yi debuted half a year ago, he was only a Golden Class Master. In other words, he rushed to the middle stage of Heaven Class in half a year. What kind of speed is that? Of course, this doesn't count at every level. Lin Yi can instantly kill a higher level master than him. This person can fight a Mystic Class Master, a Mystic Class Master can fight an Earth Class Master, an Earth Class Master can fight a Heaven Class Master, an Earth Class Master can fight a Heaven Class Master. He is basically invincible above the Heaven Class, even Torta was crippled by him. It seems that our Bubbly clan really did something wrong. Thor Ryu looked at the information in his hands and immediately regretted it. Yes, in addition to this, there is one more amazing thing, Father, you will know if you continue to read. Thor Long smiled bitterly. What else? Thor Ryu was slightly stunned. Is there something more shocking than this? He quickly looked back, but the more he looked, the more shocked he was. Lin Yi was actually crippled several times. Moreover, not only Lin Yi's underlings were also crippled several times, but in the end they all went to take revenge? What's going on? Does Lin Yi have a 4th grade great revitalizing pill? And it seems that he has more than one? Thinking that Lin Yi is the disciple of mysterious sky ancestor Boss Bai, Thor Ryu felt that it is more likely. Thinking of this, Thor Ryu suddenly stood up and said, "Let's go to the dungeon, I want to talk to Lin Yi." Chapter 33:53. Thor Ryu and Thor Long went out of the room and went straight to the dungeon. This dungeon was actually the basement of the Bubble Lee clan. The entrance was under the castle, but they had to go through a life and death passage to reach the dungeon. Open the door. Thor Ryu and Long Long stood in front of an underground entrance of the castle. Thor Ryu ordered Long Long, "Yes, father." Long nodded and took out a strange-shaped iron key from his pocket and placed it in a gap next to the entrance. The shape of the iron key was exactly the same as the gap. It was just right to put it in. After the iron key was placed in, the entrance slowly opened quietly. It turned out that this entrance could only be opened with a key, and it was a one-way opening. No wonder Yu Xiaoka couldn't find the mechanism to open it after searching for a long time. Lin Yi was getting impatient. If he couldn't find the way to open it after waiting for a long time, Lin Yi would just blow it up with a chi bomb. Yu Xiaoka was looking for the mechanism to open when the door in front of her opened quietly. A dazzling light shone through the gap, making Yu Xiaoka, Lin Yi, and Yu Dake stunned at the same time. It was a little strange. Of course, the most strange one was Yu Xiaoka. She didn't think that she found any mechanism, so why did the door suddenly open? Could it be that she accidentally triggered some kind of mechanism and opened this door? Although there were luminous pearls in the basement, the color of the light outside was completely different. It was a bright yellow light. Therefore, when the door opened, Yu Xiaoka's vision didn't react, but Lin Yi was immune to this and directly saw the people outside the door. This surprised Lin Yi. He couldn't be so unlucky that the Bubble Lee clan just happened to come to the basement, right? This was the warehouse of the Bubble Lee clan. Lin Yi knew that they put used energy stones here, but among the people who came there was a peak late-stage heaven class master. This made Lin Yi very depressed. However, it was too late to hide now. Lin Yi could only secretly use the chant to deal with the conflict that might happen at any time. "Mr. Lin, right? Hello, let me introduce myself. I am the current patriarch of the Pao Li clan. My name is Thor Ryu." When Thor Ryu saw Lin Yi running his Heart Sutra, he was startled. He knew Lin Yi's ability. If Lin Yi crippled his eldest son, then he wouldn't be able to find a place to cry. "Oh, you're the patriarch of the Bubble Lee clan? You're here." Lin Yi didn't expect that the friendly old man in front of him was actually the patriarch of the Bubble Lee clan. Moreover, he spoke to him in such a polite manner. "I'm sorry, Mr. Lin. Previously, my 3rd son was bewitched by the demon and attacked you. Here, I would like to express my sincerest apologies. I'm sorry." Thor Ryu's attitude was very humble. He knew that this was an opportunity for him and his 3rd son, Tortu. Lin Yi was very surprised by Thor Ryu's apology, but it didn't seem to be fake. In Lin Yi's view, there was no need for the other party to fake it. He nodded and said, "Demon? What do you mean? Old Patriarch, did you come here to reconcile with me?" Yes, the demon claimed to be from the Central Plains. One of them is called Kong Ming Ming, and the other is called He. They are the disciples of the Central Plains 5 Elements sect's acting head, ancestor Xianchen. Thor Ryu didn't hide anything. In the blink of an eye, he sold out Kong Ming Ming. Kong Ming Ming? He? After listening, Lin Yi's face flashed with a touch of shock. So it's them? 2 people? From the Central Plains? 5 Elements sect? Of course, Yu Dake was also shocked. According to Yu Dake's speculation, these 2 people must be the enemies of the Gu family who came here to look for the Bubble Lee family. It seems that Mr. Lin knows these 2 people. Thor Ryu's face flashed with a touch of guilt. Yes, they promised to give our Bubble Lee family a top-grade 4th grade Great Recovery pill. Then, our Bubble Lee family will help them deal with an enemy. And Mr. Lin should be able to see that my meridians are destroyed. I need a top-grade 4th grade Great Recovery pill to heal my injury. So we agreed to this request. But I didn't expect that Mr. Lin is also a member of the Five Elements sect. Ah. You didn't expect that Lin Yi was also a member of the Five Elements sect. If that's the case, then aren't those two enemies of Lin Yi's from the same sect? Can Lin Yi avenge him? Wait, since they are from the same sect, why did those people want to deal with Lin Yi? So that's how it is. Lin Yi nodded. The purpose of the old patriarch coming here is, Mr. Lin, let's not beat around the bush. I know about your deeds. If I'm not wrong, you should have a top-grade 4th-grade Great Recovery pill in your hands, right? And more than one. Thor Ryu asked tentatively. And then? Lin Yi didn't admit it. He just asked non-committally. If Mr. Lin can provide us with one or two, I think Bubbly family will be very grateful to Mr. Lin. Thor Ryu said. You mean you and your son's injuries will be healed, right? Lin Yi asked. Yes, that's it. What do you think about it, Mr. Lin? Thor Ryu nodded and asked. Do you think that your son treated me like that and locked me in the dungeon and asked me to save him? Is there something wrong with me? Lin Yi smiled and asked. Of course, this is a deal. Mr. Lin, you can tell me what you think. Previously, my son Tortu also said that Mr. Lin came to our Bubbly family to discuss business. Thor Ryu quickly added. Okay, first help me kill. Lin Yi didn't ask Bubbly family to kill Kong Ming because Kong Ming still owes him a chi-gathering pill. Moreover, with his strength, Lin Yi can kill him in a matter of seconds. There is no need for Bubbly family to act on his behalf. On the other hand, he is a big problem. Lin Yi isn't sure that he can kill him in a second. If he doesn't do it well, he will lose more than he gains. Thor Ryu hesitated for a moment, then said, if Mr. Lin can really provide me with a top-grade 4th-grade Great Recovery pill, I can satisfy Mr. Lin's request. Chapter 3354. Thor Ryu was at a loss for words. His expression was a bit awkward. It's futures, he hasn't given it to me yet. He said that after the Five Elements sect has successfully refined it, he will definitely give it to me, and not just one but two. Oh, he still owes me a chi-gathering pill. He has owed me for several months. Do you think his words are credible? Lin Yi curled his lips. Mr. Lin is right, but I have been fooled once. I have to learn from my mistakes, right? Thor Ryu was thick-skinned after all. He laughed and admitted his mistake. Lin Yi didn't know what to say. The second condition is about energy stones. Lin Yi said. I need a batch of energy stones. Energy stones. Thor Ryu's expression slightly changed. Mr. Lin, our Paoli clan doesn't have many energy stones left. If this is your request, I am sorry I can't comply. Although I'm the patriarch of the Paoli clan, I can't just hand over the cultivation resources of the future generations of the Paoli clan. If I become a sinner for all eternity for my own selfish interests, then I'd rather not have this top-grade 4th-grade Great Recovery pill. Of course, if Mr. Lin gives us two top-grade 4th-grade Great Recovery pills, then I can make the decision to give Mr. Lin a few energy stones. But a whole batch isn't very possible. Mr. Lin, you've seen it as well. The energy stones in this vault that have been used have piled up into a mountain, and it would require a few tens of thousands of years or even 100,000 years to completely recharge a single energy stone. This time is truly too long. Oh right, I forgot to tell Mr. Lin, the used energy stones can be automatically recharged, but the absorption speed is relatively slow. What I mean is that the patriarch seems to have misunderstood. I want 1/5 of the energy stones in your vault. Lin Yi said. That's definitely impossible. We currently have 20,000 energy stones in our vault. 1/5 is 4,000 energy stones. That's too much. I can't agree. Thor Ryu immediately said. I'm not done yet. The energy stones I'm referring to aren't the old clan leader's storage, but the energy stones in this basement. Lin Yi said as he pointed at the mountain of discarded energy stones not far away. Mr. Lin, are you talking about used energy stones? You want this? What's the use of this? Thor Ryu froze, not understanding what Lin Yi meant. This is 1/5. Although it was a lot, it was useless. Oh, Mr. Lin, you can't be talking about those energy stones that have already been charged with some energy, right? At this point, Thor Ryu's expression suddenly changed. Could it be that Lin Yi had already inspected these energy stones? Do you know that part of it has already been charged with some energy? These are the numbers. That was about 1/5. However, these energy stones had been here for more than 10,000 years. Although the energy contained in each one wasn't particularly much and could only be filled by about 10%, if they were added together, it would still be a huge amount of energy. So, thinking of this, Thor Ryu was a little anxious. Mr. Lin, isn't your appetite too big? Old patriarch, you misunderstood again. When I said 1/5, I meant 1/5 from this side. I don't want those inside. Lin pointed to the energy stones at the edge. These were all left here in the past few hundred years. What's the use of Mr. Lin taking them? Even if Mr. Lin wants to establish a sect, it will take 100,000 years for these energy stones to take effect. At that time, the situation is uncertain. Thor Ryu really didn't understand what Lin Yi's intention was. Old patriarch, you don't have to worry about my use. I'm just doing business. What do you think, old patriarch? Lin Yi didn't explain much. He directly said, fully recover your and your son's injuries. Can you agree to these two conditions? I can agree to it, but I have to give the money at the same time. Thor Ryu also learned his lesson this time and no longer believed in futures. Okay, then heal your injuries first. Lin Yi nodded and said, Old patriarch, sit in front of me. Is there any explanation for taking the best grade 4 Great Recover pill? Thor Ryu was slightly stunned. He hadn't seen a grade 4 Great Recover pill before, so he didn't know what Lin Yi meant. However, he still sat in front of Lin Yi. He behaved like a primary school student in class. What did you call Thor? Now protect your father. Don't let anyone disturb us. Otherwise, if your father dies or suffers from cultivation deviation, don't blame me. Lin Yi looked at Thor Dragon and said. He was afraid that the Thor Dragon would attack him while he was healing Thor's sun and moon. Therefore, he needed to deter the Thor Dragon in advance so that it wouldn't dare to act rashly. Of course, Lin Yi said to protect Thor Ryu. Mr. Lin, don't worry, I won't let anyone disturb you. Thor Dragon quickly promised. Okay, give me your wrist, then close your eyes and rest. Lin Yi said to Thor Ryu. Oh, okay. Although Thor Ryu was very strange, he still handed his wrist to Lin Yi. Lin Yi, on the other hand, clasped Thor Ryu's pulse and began to circulate the third level of the Art of Dragon Mastery, slowly repairing Thor Ryu's damaged meridians. Recently, Lin Yi's Art of Dragon Mastery showed signs of breaking through the third level, but Lin Yi always felt that there was still a gap. Lin Yi didn't delay his daily practice, but there was still a gap. Lin Yi thought that it was probably because his time to break through the second level was too short, so it was impossible to break through the third level too quickly. Thor Ryu didn't know what Lin Yi was going to do, but he suddenly discovered that from Lin Yi's pulse, a magical chi was continuously flowing into his body and began to repair the broken meridians in his body. What kind of magical heart sutra is this? Thor Ryu was shocked at this moment. He suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. You. Thor Ryu's expression made Thor Dragon tense up. He didn't see Lin Yi give his father a medicinal pill. Instead, he started to circulate the Heart Sutra. Is Lin Yi trying to harm his father? So, he subconsciously became vigilant. Lin Yi, what are you doing? Chapter 3355. Thor Dragon was startled. He also realized that he was too impatient. Lin Yi probably didn't want to harm his father, but rather he was doing something else. His father's expression right now was one of excitement and happiness. Thor Dragon quickly shut up and carefully moved to the door, not daring to speak anymore. Don't be impatient. Lin Yi looked at Lin Yi. In fact, Lin Yi's true chi came from the space inside the jade pendant, and Lin Yi's body was just a conductor, so he didn't need to spend much energy on it. He was just afraid that Thor Dragon would suddenly attack him, catching him off guard. Good. Thor Dragon nodded repeatedly. However, although Thor Dragon didn't speak, the shocked expression on his face became more and more wonderful. He couldn't believe that Lin Yi actually healed him like this. No wonder he and his companions were crippled, but they could still be full of vigor. It turned out that Lin Yi was more powerful than some top-grade 4th-grade Great Recover pill. Finally, Lin Yi repaired all the meridians in Thor Dragon's body. Lin Yi also released Thor Dragon's wrist. He didn't help Thor Dragon improve his strength, because Thor Dragon hadn't been injured for a long time. He believed that after some time, he would be able to recover on his own. It's done. Lin Yi let go and said to Thor Ryu, now that you've seen what I'm capable of, you shouldn't doubt my words anymore. Go kill He and give me a fifth of the energy stones here. I'll heal your son's injuries. Yes, Mr. Lin, I will do it. At this moment, Thor Dragon's body instantly released the domineering aura of a cultivator. Although he couldn't completely reach the peak of the late stage of heaven rank, he could already reach the late stage of heaven rank. He believed that as long as he recovered a little, he would be able to return to his peak state. Of course, Thor Dragon also saw the strength released by his father. While he was happy, he was also very shocked. Lin Yi's ability was too powerful. Just by taking a pulse he can heal injuries? What kind of mantra was this? However, he didn't dare to ask. After all, Lin Yi wasn't a person who was easy to get along with. From his information, this kid would kill someone in a second without saying a word. Even his third brother was killed in a second. He didn't want to provoke Lin Yi again. Mr. Lin, please follow me. I'll arrange a VIP room for you, Thor Dragon respectfully said. At this moment, he had already regarded Lin Yi as an honored guest of the Bubble Li clan. Moreover, he could also see that Lin Yi wasn't a greedy person. The conditions that he proposed weren't difficult for the Bubble Li clan. To tell the truth, the Bubble Leaf clan didn't have much use for discarded energy stones. Who could wait for 100,000 years? At that time it was unknown whether the Bubble Li clan still existed. In the Thor Dragon's opinion, killing He was perfectly normal. He wanted to kill Lin Yi, so Lin Yi killed him instead. There was nothing wrong with that. Mr. Lin, aren't you going to personally kill He? Thor Ryu felt a bit strange. If Lin Yi could seriously injure Thor Dragon, then he should have the strength to kill He. No, it's not good to make a move. Lin Yi waved his hand. It wasn't that he couldn't make a move. He could injure He, but killing him was hard to say. If Lin Yi released a big move and didn't kill He, then he wouldn't be able to use it immediately. It wouldn't be good if his flaws were seen through. Thus, it was better to let the Bubble Li clan do it for him. Alright, I'll let Thor Dragon and Thor Shan make a move. They are peak late-stage heaven rank powerhouses, they should be able to get rid of He. Thor Ryu didn't say anything else. In his eyes, if Kong Ming couldn't make a move, then Lin Yi wouldn't be able to make a move either. Your Bubble Li clan doesn't have any peak late-stage heaven rank powerhouses? Lin Yi asked after hearing that. There are. But do you need so many powerhouses to deal with He? Thor Ryu asked. This He is stronger than an ordinary peak late-stage heaven rank powerhouse, so I suggest that you attack him together. Bring your other son here, I'll heal him, then you can attack together. Lin Yi said. Thor Ryu was very moved after hearing Lin Yi's words. Lin Yi was really thinking about them, unlike Kong Ming who pretended to be courteous. Kong Ming gave them a fake reminder. But not only did Lin Yi remind them, but he also wanted to heal Tortu in advance. This meant that Lin Yi was afraid that the Bubble Li clan would suffer a loss and help them. Thank you, Mr. Lin. Rest assured, Mr. Lin. I'll immediately find someone to help Mr. Lin pack these energy stones. I'll also select some energy stones that have already been charged. Thor Ryu said. That's not necessary, I don't need to charge them. It's best if there aren't any. Lin Yi waved his hand and said, since we've discussed the conditions, it doesn't matter if I heal your son a step earlier. Thank you, Mr. Lin. Thor Ryu saw that Lin Yi refused his good intentions, so he didn't force him. He nodded and went to find Tortu. Tortu was disheartened. Although he knew that his father got him a top-grade 4th-grade great rejuvenating pill from Kong Ming, but to be honest, was it that easy to refine a top-grade 4th-grade great rejuvenating pill? Kong Ming agreed, but he didn't know when he would be able to refine it. Tortu didn't think that he would be so unlucky. Not only did he fail to kill Lin Yi, but he was also crippled. However, when Thor Ryu pushed the door and entered Tortu's room, Tortu suddenly froze. Father, your strength. Thor Ryu didn't hide his strength, so Tortu could easily feel that Thor Ryu's strength was at the late stage of heaven rank. This made him very shocked. Your strength has recovered? Kong Ming gave you the pill? It's not Kong Ming, it's Lin Yi. Thor Ryu sighed and told Tortu about what happened before. After Tortu heard it, a glimmer of hope flashed in his eyes. If it was before, he definitely wouldn't believe that Lin Yi had such a magical ability to heal other people's injuries. But now that his father was standing in front of him, Tortu couldn't help but believe it. Can I also recover? Tortu didn't expect happiness to come so quickly. Chapter 3356. Don't worry, father, I don't have any enmity with him. All of this was caused by Kong Ming Ming. After I recover, I'll directly deal with Kong Ming Ming, Tortu said hatefully. Tortu and Linny arrived at Lin Yi's resting room. Linny didn't say any nonsense and directly started healing Tortu. Thor Riwe and Thor Dragon stood on the side to protect him. When they saw that Tortu had recovered to his peak late-stage heaven rank, they cried tears of joy. These past few days had been spent in darkness for the Bubbly clan. And now they'd finally welcomed the light. Knowing how to repay kindness, Thor Riwe didn't rest. Instead, he took Thor Dragon, Thor Shan, Tortu, and the two elders of the Bubbly clan to he and Kong Ming Ming's room. When Kong Xiaoming opened the door, he saw a large group of people standing in front of the door. He was puzzled. Old master, you came here. Why did you bring so many people? What are you doing in such a grand manner? Haha, nothing. Thor Riwe faintly smiled and stepped into Kong Ming Ming's room. The 5 people behind him also rushed in. No. Your strength. Kong Ming Ming suddenly pointed at Thor Riwe and exclaimed, how come you aren't a cripple anymore? Surprised? There is something even more surprising. Attack. Thor Ryu suddenly shouted. As he spoke, his figure flickered slightly, and the 5 people behind him charged straight at Little One. Little One's pupils slightly shrank. He hadn't expected the Bubbly clan to attack them, but he quickly reacted and put up a defense. But what made him helpless was that the 5 people in front of him were actually at the peak of the late stage of the Heaven Realm. If he was facing a peak late stage Heaven rank expert, he might be able to win. After all, he was from the 5 Elements sect. His strength was stronger than other cultivators of the same rank. But now, with 5 people attacking together, no matter how strong he wasn't their match. Let's talk this out. Little One retreated. Under the combined attack of these 5 people, he had no confidence in surviving. However, Tol Dragon, Tol Shan, Tol Tu, and the 2 elders didn't intend to explain or stop. The 5 of them simultaneously activated their incantations, drew out a magical weapon that seemed to be made of the bones of some wild beast, and smashed it towards Little One at the same time. The Bubbly clan's weapon was the bone of a type of spirit beast, and it was slightly different from the ones used in the cultivation world of the Central Plains. Of course, this was related to their clan. Let alone using a heaven-ranked divine weapon, even if he didn't use it, Little One wouldn't be a match for Lin Yi. After Little One's divine weapon was taken away by Lin Yi still hadn't returned it. The current situation caused Little One to want to cry. Lin Yi wanted to kill him. Furthermore, they were all ruthless moves, catching Little One off guard. Although he had true chi protecting his body with 5 top-notch experts attacking him at the same time, no matter how he defended, he would still die. There was no hope of survival. Therefore, Little One was anxious. He gritted his teeth. Even if he had to die, he had to drag someone down with him. Boom! The 5 experts of the Bubbly clan hit he at the same time, and the bone weapon smashed into He's body with a loud bang. And in the instant that Little One was hit, he also moved. He suddenly activated his strongest martial technique, the 5 Elements Reincarnation Fist, and directly attacked Tol Dragon, who was at the forefront. Even if I die, I'll drag someone down with me. Little One's expression was fierce. He never thought that he would die here, but since he couldn't live, he would drag someone down with him with his last breath. Tol Shan attacked with all his strength. He didn't expect that he could still struggle under the joint attack of several people. Although he quickly activated his incantations and used true chi to protect his body, it was already too late. Moreover, He's 5 Elements Reincarnation Fist was one of the strongest moves of the 5 Elements sect, second only to the 5 Elements 8 Trigrams Palm. However, the higher the level of the cultivator of the 5 Elements 8 Trigrams Palm, the disadvantages of the 5 Elements 8 Trigrams Palm became apparent. He only had 10 moves, so an Earth-grade cultivator could use it, but a Heaven-grade cultivator would have no advantage. The 5 Elements Reincarnation Fist was different, but at the Earth grade it wasn't as powerful as the 5 Elements 8 Trigrams Palm. Of course, this was also referring to the current 5 Elements Reincarnation Fist. The current 5 Elements Reincarnation Fist was actually an incomplete martial technique. Originally, only those who possessed the 5 elements could cultivate it. Just like the 5 Elements 8 trigrams palm, all attributes had to be fused together in order to display the greatest power. However, although the 5 Elements sect was called the 5 Elements sect, how many people possessed the 5 elements? It was no wonder that Patriarch Xianchen valued Tagonlong and Tianchan so much. In the past, there was a talented senior in the 5 Elements sect who modified the 5 Elements Reincarnation Fist into one of the 5 elements. Any single attribute could be activated and used, but its power was greatly weakened. However, it was still much stronger than ordinary martial techniques. It was just that every time it was activated, it would drain all the physical strength and true energy in the body. Therefore, unless it was absolutely necessary, Little E would not use it. Now, he was definitely going to die, so there was no need to leave any way out for himself. The original 5 Elements Reincarnation Fist was very powerful, even more powerful than the 5 Elements 8 trigrams palm. However, it had been lost. After the senior took away the 5 Elements Reincarnation Fist to modify, he took the original 5 Elements Reincarnation Fist's mantra and went into seclusion. He wanted to perfect his modified 5 Elements Reincarnation Fist and see if it could become a martial technique that could be activated by cultivators with 2 or 3 attributes. However, that senior never came out of his closed-door cultivation. Instead, he went berserk when he was modifying the secret manual, causing his body to explode. Even the original version of the 5 Elements 8 trigrams palm secret manual was destroyed. From then on, this martial arts technique was lost. Otherwise, Patriarch Xianchen would definitely let Tagonlong and Tianchan practice the original 5 Elements Reincarnation Fist. Boom! The Thor dragon was sent flying by He Yi's critical strike before he died. He crashed into the door and directly broke it. Then, he fell into the corridor, bleeding from all 7 orifices. It was obvious that he had suffered a very serious internal injury. He laughed out loud and collapsed on the spot. Satisfied, he rushed to the underworld. As for Kong Mingming, he was scared silly. He didn't know what had happened. Why did Thor Dragon Sun and Moon get someone to kill he as soon as he entered the door? I didn't provoke him. He hid at the side, shivering, not knowing what to do. Chapter 3357. Seeing the dying Thor dragon on the ground, Thor Remoon quickly took out a jade bottle, took out a level 3 Great Restoring Pill and put it into Thor Dragon's mouth. After taking the Great Restoring Pill, Thor Dragon's complexion improved slightly, but his injuries didn't recover. He can only say that he won't die for a while. Father, I can't do it. I didn't expect he to use such a move before he died. Don't worry too much, Thor Dragon. Hold on, Mr. Lin can save you. Thor Remoon said anxiously. My injuries are too serious. Thor Dragon smiled bitterly. And why would Mr. Lin save me? Thor Dragon's words stunned Thor Remoon. Then he remembered that he made a deal with Lin Yi. Lin Yi healed his and Tortu's injuries in order to kill he in exchange for wasted energy stones. Now that Thor Dragon is here, will Lin Yi save him? However, no matter what, Thor Remoon still wants to try. He picked up Thor Dragon and said to the 2 elders of Bubbly Clan, Thor Elder, Thor Jr., look after Kong Ming. Don't let him escape. Yes. The 2 elders nodded. Thor Shan Tortu, come with me, Thor Remoon said and quickly ran to Lin Yi's room. A sudden knock on the door made Lin Yi slightly stunned. He opened the door and saw Thor Remoon holding Thor Dragon. This surprised Lin Yi. Old Patriarch, Mr. Thor Dragon is? Mr. Lin, Thor Dragon was seriously injured by He Yi's last attack. I hope Mr. Lin can help, Thor Remoon said. Oh. Lin Yi looked at Thor Dragon. Although Thor Dragon's injury is serious, it should be controlled by the elixir. He won't die for a while. However, Lin Yi didn't agree immediately. Instead, he said, Old Patriarch, do you think that I don't need to pay the price for healing others? Healing you and Torta cost me a lot of stamina and true chi, and my strength level almost dropped. This. Thor Remoon just remembered that Lin Yi used chi to heal others. It's no wonder. How much chi can a cultivator have? How precious was their physical strength and true chi? Otherwise, energy stones wouldn't be priceless. Lin Yi had to pay a price as well. So Thor Sun and Moon asking Lin Yi to heal the Thor Dragon was a bit too shameless. Of course, it's not that Lin Yi is deliberately making things difficult for them. It's because Lin Yi and the Bubbly clan only have a business relationship. If the Bubbly clan didn't do anything to him at the beginning and imprisoned him in the dungeon, then Lin Yi will do them a favor. But now the Bubbly clan first cooperated with Kong Mingming, seeing that Lin Yi is strong. Then they cooperated with Lin Yi, so the Bubbly clan's position in Lin Yi's heart fell, and Lin Yi won't be so sincere to them. Sometimes it's necessary to be careful. Mr. Lin, if you save Thor Dragon, what's the price? Thor Remoon is not stupid since he made 2 deals with Lin Yi. He might as well make another one. He has already been killed by us. Killing He was originally the condition we agreed on. Lin Yi shook his head faintly. If I save him, the loss of true chi is too much. We can use 10 full energy stones in exchange. Thor Remoon hesitated for a moment and said, I don't need full energy stones. Lin Yi refused. Do you have anything else? Then, there are things like medicinal pills. Mr. Lin probably doesn't need them. Thor Ryu suddenly thought of something when he said this. Didn't Lin Yi say before that Kong Mingming still owes Lin Yi a chi gathering pill? Does Lin Yi need this chi gathering pill? If that's the case, thinking of this, Thor Remoon quickly said, Our Bubbly clan still has a chi gathering pill. I don't know if Mr. Lin needs it. Chi gathering pill is not very useful for the Bubbly clan. They have a lot of energy stones to cultivate. They don't need a chi gathering pill at all. Originally, they exchanged a few chi gathering pills, so they didn't continue to exchange. Now they only have one left. Chi gathering pill? Lin Yi raised his eyebrows. He didn't expect the Bubbly clan to have such a thing. So he slowly nodded and said, Chi gathering pill is fine, but you should also know that the value of a 3rd level pill is not enough for me to take action. I understand that, Mr. Lin. Our Powly clan will engrave your kindness in our hearts. Consider it as our Bubbly clan owes Mr. Lin a favor. If Mr. Lin needs anything in the future, as long as our Bubbly clan can do it, we will definitely do it. Thor Remoon said. Good, you protect Thor Dragon. Lin Yi said. He reached out and buckled Thor Dragon's pulse, then started to circulate the art of dragon mastery. Although Lin Yi took action because of the chi gathering pill, after all, the Bubbly clan hasn't taken out the chi gathering pill yet. Lin Yi has already taken action. This made Thor Remoon very grateful. Although Lin Yi's words are complicated, treating Thor Dragon is really a piece of cake. After Thor Dragon recovered, Lin Yi loosened his hand and said, It's done. Thor Remoon was about to ask Thor Dragon how he feels, but Thor Dragon suddenly jumped up and bowed deeply in front of Lin Yi. Then he cupped his fist and said, Thank you, Mr. Lin, for saving my life. This one will never forget it. From now on, Thor Dragon's life belongs to Mr. Lin. The Bubbly clan owes Mr. Lin a favor. I, Thor Dragon, will follow Mr. Lin's lead. Thor Remoon looked at his eldest son. In the end, he didn't say anything. He understood his eldest son's character. He is a person who knows how to repay kindness. He also knows that the value of a chi gathering pill is not enough to exchange for his life. To be honest, if the Bubbly clan wanted, a chi gathering pill and an energy stone would be enough. They wouldn't even need 10 energy stones. However, Lin Yi didn't ask for 10 energy stones. Instead, he asked for a chi gathering pill. This shows that Lin Yi might need this thing, so he gave it to the Bubbly clan without much trouble. How is Kong Mingming? Lin Yi doesn't need Thor Dragon for the time being. He is far away in the foreign land, far away from Lin Yi. Distant water can't put out a nearby fire, so Lin Yi doesn't need him to do anything for the time being. Chapter 3358. Let him go. Lin Yi thought for a moment and said, even if he has chi gathering pills, he intends to let Kong Mingming go. Even if Lin Yi doesn't need chi gathering pills, he still has Han Jingjing and others. Oh, okay. Although Lin Yi wondered why Lin Yi wanted to let Kong Mingming go, since Lin Yi has decided, he didn't ask much. He ordered Tortu to find chi gathering pills for Lin Yi. Thor went to release Kong Mingming, while he and Thor Dragon sat in Lin Yi's room and talked to Lin Yi. This time I'm afraid I can't take all the energy stones back. My car can't fit them. Lin Yi said. Let's leave them here for the time being. I will come back to get them when I have time. Ah, Mr. Lin, are you leaving? After listening to Lin Yi's words, Thor Ryu was shocked. Yeah, there are still a lot of things to do at home. I have achieved my purpose of coming here this time, so I have to go back. Lin Yi said. If there's anything you need, you can call me or come find me. Thank you, Mr. Lin. Lin Yi was very moved. Lin Yi's words are equivalent to a promise. In the future, if someone in the Bubbly family has their meridians severed, it is estimated that Lin Yi will not sit idly by. Perhaps Thor Dragon's attitude moved Lin Yi. In short, Lin Yi can be regarded as a good karma. Kong Ming was released, and even his car was returned to him. They even helped him fill up the gas. This made Kong Ming a little puzzled. He didn't know what the Bubbly family wanted to do. Old Patriarch, what do you mean by this? You killed my senior brother. Don't you want to cooperate with our 5 Elements sect? In fact, Kong Ming has vaguely guessed the gist of the matter. It is estimated that the Bubbly family is relying on Lin Yi. Didn't Thor Ryu and Tortu recover from their injuries? Even Thor Dragon, who was beaten by Xiao Yi, became fine. If Kong Ming still doesn't know what is going on, then he is really a fool. He was no longer the Kong Xiaoming who ate dog shit. He'd matured in this period of time, and that was why he was puzzled. Why did Lin Yi let him go? Why did you let him go? Kong Ming didn't say anything, he just retreated to the side. Just as Kong Ming was about to say something, a familiar voice sounded. The owner of this voice was Lin Yi. Kong Ming, you and I can be considered as old acquaintances. We can also be considered as fellow disciples. So this time I will let you go. I hope you can refine the Qi gathering pill as soon as possible. Ah, Boss Lin Yi, thank you so much. Although Kong Ming said so, he hated Lin Yi to the core. He thought, refining gathering Qi pills? I'll refine an extreme Qi gathering pill for you and eat you to death. I won't send you off. Send my regards to Patriarch Xianchen. Take Xiao Yi's corpse back. To be honest, I hate him. If you came by yourself, you might not have died. After Lin Yi finished speaking, he turned around and left. Kong Ming knew about the grudge between Lin Yi and Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi once beat Lin Yi up like a dead dog. It was reasonable for Lin Yi to find an opportunity to kill Xiao Yi. However, since Lin Yi let him go, there was no need for Kong Ming to stay any longer. He got in the car and quickly drove away 5 Elements sect. These days, good things happened one after another for Patriarch Xianchen. There was good news from Kong Ming that he had imprisoned Lin Yi. There was also good news from Dr. Benjamin too. The technical problems of the second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron had been solved. It had been replicated and could be put into mass production. At this moment, Kong Ming called. Patriarch Xianchen picked up the phone. Xiaoming, I was just about to look for you. I have good news for you. Father-in-law, I have bad news for you. Kong Ming said with grief and indignation. Bad news? Patriarch Xianchen was stunned. His good mood instantly fell to the bottom. Then tell me first. The Bubbly clan changed sides at the last minute. They actually cooperated with Lin Yi. They killed eldest senior brother. Kong Ming said with a bitter face. If it wasn't for Lin Yi counting on me to refine the Qi gathering pill for him, I'm afraid I would have been left there too. What? The Bubbly clan doesn't want the top-grade 4th-grade Great Recover pill anymore? Patriarch Xianchen was shocked. Lin Yi healed the injuries of Thor Ryu and Tortu. Lin Yi has a magical ability in this aspect. We learned about it before. Who knew that the Bubbly clan knew about it? In the end, Kong Ming explained with a bitter smile. Then I understand. Patriarch Xianchen sighed after listening. He vaguely knew about Lin Yi's ability, but he didn't study it much. After all, a person could only cultivate a limited number of mantras. It was useless to study other things. Moreover, if Lin Yi could cultivate it, the people of 5 Elements sect might not be able to cultivate it. Otherwise, there would be no need for Tagonlong. Come back quickly. It's good that you're fine. Otherwise, little 11th will be a widow. He will have a hard life. I'm on my way back. By the way, father-in-law, what is the good news you mentioned before? Kong Ming suddenly thought of the good news that Patriarch Xianchen had mentioned before. Good news. I'm not in the mood to talk about it now. Actually, it's like this, Patriarch Xianchen said. Elder Xianchen said. Professor Benjamin too has already cracked Lin Yi's 2nd-grade automatic medicine cauldron. We can now mass-produce it. That's great. We can't kill Lin Yi for the time being. We can attack Lin Yi from this aspect. Kong Ming was immediately full of morale when he heard this. And I think so too. We can only do this for the time being. Patriarch Xianchen said helplessly. By the way, father-in-law, actually, little first's death is not necessarily a bad thing. Kong Mingming suddenly said. Oh? What do you mean? Patriarch Xianchen was a little stunned. You mean because of little 11th? Previously, little first also liked little 11th. That was why Patriarch Xianchen had such a guess. After all, if the two of them were to look into it, they could be regarded as love rivals. Chapter 3359. Zhao Ming, what you said makes a lot of sense. Patriarch Xianchen didn't think so much before. Now that he heard Kong Mingming's analysis, he felt that it was really the case. Lin Yi didn't have the ability to kill a peak late-stage heaven-stage great perfection expert. This was good news. At least Lin Yi wasn't invincible. After hearing this news, Patriarch Xianchen was relieved. As long as Lin Yi wasn't invincible, then there was a way to deal with Lin Yi. So I think that we should hurry up and refine that pill. Let Lin Yi eat it and die, Kong Mingming suggested. And after you come back, you will carry out this matter, Patriarch Xianchen said. Patriarch Xianchen hung up the phone and sighed slightly. Then he shouted to the door. Little waiter, come in for a while. Master, are you looking for me? After a while, little waiter pushed the door and walked in. Your eldest senior brother Little E has fallen. Now you are the eldest among our 5 elements sect brothers. You have to shoulder this responsibility. Patriarch Xianchen sighed. Ah, when did this happen? Little waiter was shocked. Today. Patriarch Xianchen said. That's not right. The disciple who was in charge of cleaning the Soul Jade token room just reported to me. Everything was normal. Eldest senior brother's Soul Jade token didn't shatter. Little waiter said strangely. Master, is this news accurate? It was sent back by Kong Mingming. It can't be wrong. Patriarch Xianchen was also stunned. Get someone to bring Little Yi's Soul Jade token to me immediately. Yes. Little waiter didn't dare to delay. He quickly nodded and went to prepare. After a while, little waiter quickly came to Patriarch Xuanchen's room with Little Yi's Soul Jade token. However, his expression was a little strange. You brought it? Let me see. Patriarch Xianchen said eagerly. Master, first senior brother's Soul Jade tablet isn't shattered, but there's a crack on it. If you don't look closely, you won't be able to tell. I only noticed it when I took it. What does it mean? The waiter respectfully handed Little Yi's Soul Jade tablet to Patriarch Xianchen. This. Patriarch Xianchen took the Soul Jade tablet and was a little dumbfounded. This was a secret technique of the 5 elements sect that had been passed down for thousands of years. However, if it was broken, then it was broken. If a person died, then the Soul Jade tablet would also shatter. There was no suspense about this. Patriarch Xianchen had never seen such a situation where the Soul Jade tablet was cracked but not broken. Did this mean that the person was dead or alive? Or not completely dead? What did that mean? Patriarch Black Earth was also a little confused. Alright, you can leave first. I'll study it myself. Patriarch Xianchen frowned. After the waiter left, he called Kong Mingming again. Zhao Ming, where are you? Are you sure your eldest senior brother is dead? Where is his body? Patriarch Xianchen asked anxiously. I'm on the way back. I'm sure he's dead. I saw him being beaten to death with my own eyes. As for his body, it's in the trunk of my car. Kong Mingming said. Then stop the car immediately and check on Little Yi's situation. Is he still alive and can be saved? Patriarch Xianchen immediately ordered. Okay, I'll go take a look now. Kong Mingming followed Patriarch Xuanchen's instructions and parked the car. Then he got out of the car and opened the trunk. However, when he opened it, Kong Mingming was shocked. He almost sat on the ground. Dumbfounded, he stared at the trunk of the car, speechless. Zhao Ming, what's wrong with you? Did you see it? Patriarch Xianchen asked anxiously. Father-in-law, eldest senior brother's body is gone. Kong Mingming exclaimed in horror. What? Gone? What do you mean? You lost it? Patriarch Xianchen frowned. No, I saw the Paoli clan put the body in the car with my own eyes. I didn't stop the car along the way, and I didn't open the trunk door. But eldest senior brother's body just disappeared into thin air. Kong Mingming was scared out of his wits at the moment. He wasn't afraid of dead people, but he was afraid of supernatural things. Wasn't this too scary? How about this? Go back the way you came and see if you dropped it on the road. Patriarch Xianchen was also confused by Kong Mingming's words. This person's body could suddenly disappear? This okay. Although Kong Mingming was afraid, he had to bite the bullet and turn the car around. This matter was too mysterious. How could the body disappear just like that? Call me immediately after you find it. Patriarch Xianchen also felt that this matter was really unusual. Wasn't this too unexpected? Lin Yi filled the back of the jeep with energy stones and left under the cheers of the Paoli clan. Deku, do you still want to go back to your old home? Lin Yi asked Deku, who was driving. No need, we've taken everything we need. Let's go back quickly. Mr. Lin, you have something important to do, right? Deku shook his head. Then let's go back directly. Lin Yi didn't hesitate. He really did want to go back as soon as possible and cure Xinyan's body. After some hesitation, Lin Yi took out the chi-gathering pill from the Paoli clan and gave it to Xiaoke. Xiaoke, will find a place later. I'll raise your strength to Earth Class Late Phase Peak, and then you can use this pill to ascend to Sky Class. Xiaoke froze at Lin Yi's action. I'll use the chi-gathering pill? Ascend to Sky Class? Even if you're a male thief, you don't have to be this nice to me. You need to raise your strength right now, so you should use it yourself. Earth Class Late Phase Peak is already very good for me, you don't have to be Sky Class. Xiaoke, you misunderstand. I'm not being nice to you without limits. You can help me if you reach Sky Class. This was the result of Lin Yi's careful consideration. Xiaoke, my attacks aren't weak anymore. Even if I can't kill someone at Sky Class Late Phase Peak, I can still hurt them. My defense is a lot weaker though. If I'd been hit by Tortu earlier, we'd all be dead by now. If you could provide me with defense then, we'd be in an invincible position. I'll have a lot of enemies in the future, so you can stay by my side and provide me with defense after you reach Sky Class. I'm being a bit selfish. Chapter 3360. Xiaoke felt that Lin Yi's words made sense. If she had the ability, why wouldn't she help Lin Yi? Especially after knowing that Lin Yi was the male thief, Xiaoke had no reason to reject him. But Xiaoke was hesitant to stay by Lin Yi's side all the time. I want to stay with you, but I can't let go of the orphanage. The orphanage is on the right track, and there won't be any shortage of funds anymore. So you have to let go when it's time. Let Ken and the others manage it. You can't stay with the orphanage forever. Lin Yi said. Since you practiced your family's secret art, naturally, there would be more difficult challenges. That's right. The orphanage is on the right track. In the past, I could manage the small orphanage in an orderly manner. But now, the orphanage has more and more ancillary welfare industries, and my ability is a little stretched. That's right. I didn't go to school, and I'm not as cultured as Ken and the others. They're learning business management now. Our orphanage may be a welfare organization, but we can't accept donations endlessly. We need to set up a foundation and make money ourselves. This is the future direction of the orphanage, and my sneaky ways are no longer suitable. Xiaoke laughed at herself. She suddenly felt that she couldn't help much with the construction of the orphanage anymore. Or her dream had come true, and she had nothing to worry about now. You can't say that. You've contributed a lot. At least, without you, the orphanage wouldn't exist. Without you, I wouldn't have invested in the orphanage, so I suggested to Fatty Lai that you guys set up a foundation to call it Xiaoke Foundation. Lin Yi smiled. I don't think that's a good idea. Xiaoke was shocked. Haha, it's decided then. I think it's good. Lin Yi waved his hand and changed the topic. He turned to Deku and said, Deku, stop the car. I'll help you Xiaoke increase her strength. Although Lin Yi didn't think that there would be any danger on the way back, it was better to be safe than sorry. Since Xiaoke could reach Sky Class now, he'd help her reach Sky Class first. If they met any masters, Lin Yi would be able to deal with them easily. In the past, Xiaoke had imagined that the orphanage wouldn't need the money she stole anymore. She imagined that Ken and the kids would grow up. She imagined that she would meet her own family one day, and she imagined that she would be with the male thief one day. But he had never imagined that he could become a heaven-rank expert. How unreachable was that? If her master wasn't, how could she be? But now she had really become a heaven-rank initial stage expert. And in just a few hours, she had completed such a magnificent transformation. Although it was very painful to break through from Earth class late phase peak to Sky class early phase, the moment she became a Sky class expert, it was as easy as being reborn. Xiaoke was very happy. Happy that she could help Lin Yi in the future and become Lin Yi's helper. Happy that she was also a Sky class expert and could maintain her youth forever. She didn't have to worry about aging before Lin Yi. Xiaoke, let's test it, Lin Yi said and turned to Deku. Deku, attack me with all your strength, and then I'll use Nuwa Sky Mending Art to defend. I'll see the effect. Ah, this is my first time using it. I may be a Sky class early phase expert, but I've never used it before. What if it doesn't work? Wouldn't you be injured? Xiaoke was shocked. It's okay. With Deku's strength, it's not enough to hurt me. Lin Yi waved his hand. Deku, attack with all your strength. I'm ready. Okay. Deku knew Lin Yi's strength. During the Hidden House Summit, Lin Yi was very strong. He was almost killed, but Lin Yi was fine. It was enough to show that Lin Yi wasn't bragging. He had real strength. Among them, Xiaoke was the most nervous. She didn't have any confidence in herself. She was like a beginner when it came to spiritual practicing. She couldn't guarantee that she would succeed. Mr. Lin, I'm coming. Udake took a deep breath and started channeling his practitioner's arts, activating the strongest move he could muster. Of course, the strongest move was very normal in Lin Yi's eyes. The techniques he'd come into contact with were all very strong, and his enemies were all strong people like Zhang Naipeo and Xiao Yi. No matter how strong Udake was, he wouldn't be able to do anything to Lin Yi. Plus, he was an Earth class and his techniques weren't that strong. Boom! Deku's fists turned into palms, attacking Lin Yi's chest with all his strength. He didn't hesitate at all. This was also because he trusted Lin Yi. He knew that his moves wouldn't cause too much damage to Lin Yi. Xiaoke was channeling the Nuwa Sky Mending Arts chant, and seeing her brother's attack, she quickly channeled it with all her might. Her hands kept moving, drawing a beautiful afterimage in the air. It was as if she was weaving a huge net, and the energy was released from her hands all of a sudden. A big net made of pure energy instantly blocked in front of her and Lin Yi. Deku's attack came at the same time. He attacked Lin Yi with his palms, but it hit the big net in front of him. There was a loud bang, but he suddenly stopped in front of the net. This big net was like a wall blocking his attack. The big net shook twice, but it didn't break. Xiaoke was a Sky class now, and the art she channeled with all her strength wasn't something an Earth class could break. Deku didn't stop. He started channeling his arts again, but the result was the same. His palms hit the big net again, but it didn't hurt Lin Yi at all. Amazing! Lin Yi nodded, signaling Deku and Xiaoke to stop. Xiaoke, this arts of yours is as powerful as the legends say. In the future, when you're with Mr. Lin, you'll be invincible. One attack, one defense, you'll kill whoever you see. Deku shouted in surprise. The Fishman's new book was published. It was called Ultimate Cultivation Young Master. Everyone please collect it and recommend it. There was a direct train in the School Beauties book. Chapter 3361. Instant kill anyone I see? Doesn't that sound really strong? Xiaoke didn't think that she could help Lin Yi. Yeah, I thought of the legend of the martial arts world, the twin killers of King Kong. Right, Mr. Lin, you're pretty much the same as them now. Huh. Xiaoke, what's wrong? Udake was excited when he realized that Xiaoke's face was extremely pale. She was swaying as if she was about to fall on the ground. This made Udake jump in fright. "I." Xiaoke only managed to say "I" before falling on the ground with a thud. Lin Yi was shocked as well. There was still Wang Xinyan who fainted at home. He hoped that Xiaoke didn't have some weird illness or else she wouldn't have fainted. Lin Yi quickly put his hand on Xiaoke's wrist to check her pulse, checking her body's condition. After checking, Lin Yi let out a sigh of relief. Xiaoke's body was fine. She just used up too much energy and fainted. Lin Yi used the art of dragon mastery to replenish Xiaoke's energy. After a while, Xiaoke woke up. "Xiaoke, how do you feel?" Udake saw that Xiaoke woke up and sighed in relief. "It's nothing. I just felt really tired and fainted." Xiaoke shook her head. Xiaoke's mantra, the higher the level of defense and the longer it takes, the more physical strength and true energy it consumes. Previously, I'm afraid Xiaoke used the mantra according to the highest level of defense she could display. Right? Lin Yi had a rough guess. Xiaoke's practitioner's arts weren't hard to understand. The higher the defense, the more energy Xiaoka had to expend. This was common sense, just like Lin Yi's fire 8 trigram palms. Xiaoka fainted when she used up all her energy. Yes, I was afraid of hurting you. Xiaoka nodded. Lin Yi, you can still transfer energy to me? Doesn't that mean I can keep using my defense? Yes. Lin Yi nodded and said, however, in battle, we will have to face enemies at any time. So it will be difficult for us to have the time to replenish your physical strength and true energy, unless it is a group battle. That's true. Xiaoka nodded. It seems like I still need to work hard. Work hard. Even if you work hard now, you won't be able to absorb the spiritual qi of heaven and earth. Your meridians have already accepted the pure energy from me, and the qi gathering pill. They have already developed antibodies against this kind of thin spiritual qi of heaven and earth. Lin Yi smiled bitterly as he shook his head. If you want to improve further, you'll have to continue using qi amassing pills, or wait for me to step into the heavenly way. It's just that the heavenly way is a realm of nothingness. I don't know when I'll be able to enter the heavenly way. And it's hard to say whether the realm of the heavenly way exists or not. Don't we still have energy stones? I can use energy stones to train myself. Xiaoka said optimistically. That's right, how could I forget about energy stones? Lin Yi took out 2 energy stones from the jade space. What surprised Lin Yi was that these 2 stones were fully charged. It had only been a few days, but they were already fully charged. It seemed like the jade space's charging speed was very fast. Perhaps it wouldn't even take a few days. Lin Yi didn't check it before. Dake, you're already in Earth class late phase peak now. Without the qi gathering pill, I can't help you increase your strength. These 2 energy stones, you and Xiaoka each take 1. Use it for your own training, and when you're done, come find me to exchange. Thank you, Mr. Lin. Dake took the energy stones gratefully. He didn't reject it because he understood Lin Yi. He could only remember this kindness in his heart. We're family, so let's not talk too much. Since I've made my relationship with Xiaoka clear, then you're also my big brother. Lin Yi smiled. I wouldn't dare to accept that. Mr. Lin is my savior. Dake shook his head. Haha, it's up to you. It's just a title. Lin Yi waved his hand nonchalantly. Dake, how about this? You and Xiaoka can stay in the villa when you get back. You'll be my helper. All right, Mr. Lin. I'll listen to your arrangements. Dake nodded. In his heart, Lin Yi's kindness to him was something that he couldn't repay in this lifetime. He had to repay this kindness. After the test, Lin Yi prepared to get in the car. But just as the 3 of them got in, they saw Kong Mingming's car coming back. Lin Yi frowned. What was this kid coming back for? Whoosh. Lin Yi appeared in front of Kong Mingming's car and stopped it. Oh my god, you scared me to death. Kong Mingming suddenly braked. Otherwise, he would almost hit Lin Yi. He wasn't afraid of killing Lin Yi. He was afraid that Lin Yi would kill him. With Lin Yi's strength level, he could directly smash his car into a pile of scrap iron. He was also an alchemist. If his defense was not good, he might die. Boss Lin Yi, what are you doing? Don't you know that you almost killed me? If I die, who will refine pills for you? Why are you back? Lin Yi ignored Kong Mingming. With his reaction speed of Heaven Stage, it was easy to stop the car in an instant. If they really hit, it could only be said that Kong Mingming was unlucky, so he asked directly. Don't mention it. Little Yi's body is gone. I'll see if it fell somewhere. I'll go back and look for it. Kong Mingming said with a face full of bad luck. The body is gone? Lin Yi closed his eyes and used his perception to sense Kong Mingming's car. There wasn't Little Yi's body inside. Kong Mingming wasn't lying. Yeah, that's it. I'll go back and look for it. Bye. Kong Mingming naturally didn't want to tell Lin Yi the specific reason. This was an internal matter of their sect. There was no need to tell Lin Yi. Oh, go look for it then. Lin Yi nodded and got in the car. He didn't care about Kong Mingming. He could do whatever he wanted. Even if he went back to the Bubbly family, they wouldn't betray him. On the way back, there were no accidents. Xiaoka's defense didn't need to be used. But what surprised Lin Yi was that he received a call from the hidden House Yu. The call was from Yu Xing, the old ancestor of House Yu. Elder Yu, hello? Lin Yi picked up the phone, confused. Actually, with Lin Yi's current strength, there was no need to respect Yu Xing at all. Plus, Yuxing didn't have a good attitude towards him in the past, even looking for trouble.